like on Jupiter and Mars. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
Welcome everyone. How's it going? Hopefully you like the cool new intro music. I really hope I don't get copyrighted for that. Shout out Marco for posting that Elon fly me to the moon. But I digress. Let's talk Tesla earnings. Today's the mega stream. First of all, welcome. See everyone in the chat here. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. City, state, country, whatever it might be. Tesla sitting at 742 at the moment. Now, before we get into it, it'll be a long stream. I'll do power hour, of course, until closing. And then we're going to do, we're going to have an hour and a half until the Tesla call actually happens. You'll see I have a brand new setup today, meaning I've set up like some new emojis, new subscriber chat. So you'll see at the top if you subscribe. I'm trying to fix my, there we go, resolution a little bit. So you'll see everything new. Hopefully everything works here. The goal for this stream today is 500 subs, if we can get there. So there's that. So we have 2:30 Pacific is the Tesla earnings call. You'll see the little countdown at the top right. It is hot today in Vancouver as well, but I'm still wearing the Juju sweater. Have to represent. There's no promises that this is going to stay on the entire time. And by the way, that's not a threat. I'm not saying I'm going to take this off and go shirtless, but I've got an extra shirt there in case I start sweating. What else do I have to say? Oh, and hit subscribe. It's a subscribers only chat today to keep it a little bit less crazy like it gets, and it helps promote subscribers for the channel. So shout out to you guys. Okay, let's read some city, state, countries here. How's it going, everyone? Washington State, Phoenix, Stockholm, Sweden, Atlanta, Georgia, Mississippi, Indiana, New York. Dave from Juju County there. Paco, how's it going from Johannesburg? Spokane, Washington, sunny and hot west coast of Sweden. Mimi, how's it going? See so many Juju Gang members in here, so many Patreon members, channel members. Shout out to you guys. Digital, Valerian, how's it going, my friend? Oh yeah, tomorrow. That reminds me actually. Tomorrow, I have James Stevenson on the channel. So tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. lunchtime, noon Eastern. I'm gonna have James Stevenson on to debrief earnings. Montreal, Germany. Asheville, North Carolina, Germany again. Oh, wow. Folks, we're global. I say this every time. It sounds like a broken record, but we're quite literally global. Montreal, Patrice, listening to me at the gym. There we go. Epigenetics. Richard, how's it going? Southern California, AK Borghand. Recognize you, of course. Awesome. I want to, let's see here. Okay, so I've got my new setup here. Hopefully it's okay. 743 sitting on Tesla at the moment. Mark, how's it going in Amsterdam? Fremont. Brandon, how's it going? Argentina, Norway. This is what I mean. Oh, okay, so I'll give you guys a little glimpse of what I got. So I've got this whole cup of water for this stream. It's probably going to be about, what, 3.5 hour, 3 hour stream is kind of what I'm planning for. Maybe a little bit longer. I've got my iced coffee. And I've got, let's go back to the camera. I've got a bowl full of juju slices. So I'm not planning on running out of juju. In fact, I don't think I will. Let's see here. Oh, stream. So hold on. If you guys see any sort of weird, like if your messages are getting deleted or anything like that, I'm trying to fix it. But stream, I'm new on the Streamlabs stuff. Nicholas, thank you for the 20 Swedish krone super chat. Appreciate that, my friend. Hopefully my stream elements works and that pops up. Hopefully it does. Okay, cool. I'm going to try to, actually, before I get too much into it, I'm going to tweet this out. Oh, crap. Oh, crap, I just lost my tweet. Oh, there it is. Okay, tweeting that out. Go like and retweet that if you want. Let's go back on Weeble, 7:45. Folks, I'm already sweating. I don't think the sweater is going to work on this hot day. It's like 25, 27 degrees here Celsius. Oh, man, it is so hot. One thing I'm going to do before I get into this too much is, let's see here, chatbot, spam filters. Let's do filters off. I've got mods here, so I'm not too worried about the spam filters. Okay, awesome. So EPS today, by the way, EPS today, I've got some Gary Black tweets that we're going to go through here in a second. EPS estimates today are going to be low. We think we know this. And there's this whole confusion right now. I was watching Rob Meier, Tesla Daily yesterday, and Rob was saying there's a red flag with all street consensus analysts, and basically they're not including the Bitcoin impairment. And so, of course, we know GAAP earnings is going to have the Bitcoin impairment included in that, so minus off, so included in the expenses, I should say. And then the non-GAAP adjusted EPS should not have, of course, typical stuff like stock-based comp, in this case, Bitcoin impairment. So it's just going to be a little bit of apples and oranges to compare through today. Gary Black had this tweet here. In my opinion, investors will look through the second quarter Tesla results and focus on a stronger second half. Today's non-GAAP EPS street estimate of 177 will be hard to interpret since most exclude the Bitcoin and restructuring, which he's estimating about 50 cents a share. The second quarter auto gross margin X credits, ZEV credits, is estimated at 26.2. And that's more important. A second quarter gross margin excluding ZEV greater than 30 would be huge as well. So we have that. In my opinion, I made this video yesterday. I don't think the EPS is going to matter too much, barring it's not some sort of huge wide discrepancy one way or another. I think the biggest thing, other than like a gross margin number or something, is going to be Tesla's thoughts on the supply chain on the second half of this year. If Tesla comes out and says, look, China is still weak and, we still expect shutdowns and, ramp is not as fast as we wanted, blah, blah, blah. That's really what I think the market is looking for, in my opinion. I've got the options pulled up here as well. So we'll take a look through options as they come through. We'll do a quick look right now. We're seeing, you'll see this huge 42 put order, 650 strike for September put in, about $30 million worth of premium right there. $30 million. Awesome. Let's just make sure everything is good here as well. Okay. I've got my Tesla ticker as well. I don't know where. Oh, here it is. Hold on. There it is. I was wondering where my Tesla ticker went. Tesla ticker, where are you? Where art thou? Oh, that's my Chrome. Hold on. Oh, hold on. 1 second. Struggles of a new setup. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Make sure everything comes in clear. I want to make sure no matter where I am on the stream, Tesla stock price is showing, just for convenience sake. Like I don't want to keep scrolling back and forth. Okay, let's do it. Hi from Guatemala. Steve, how's it going? Okay, let's see here. Let's read some of the chats coming in here. Hadouken, how's it going? Yeah, so this quarter, FSD might surprise on the upside. I think that's the going consensus at the moment is, okay, how much is FSD take rate gonna all of a sudden be huge? And if it is, then how do we interpret that? And does that save the quarter? There's some thoughts about enhanced autopilot as well coming through and really fixing a bunch of things. I don't know. I don't think enhanced autopilot is going to be too big of a thing. I don't know. My expectations are not very high. Let's just put it that way for enhanced autopilot saving the day. That's my opinion, at least. We'll see. Okay. Giga Texas will surprise. Yeah, I mean, perhaps. The way to look at it, Giga Texas and Giga Austin at the moment, same thing. Giga Texas and Giga Berlin at the moment is, it's almost like just wait until the end of the year. Like, I'm sure Tesla will probably not share too much data with us with respect to margins just from those factories, or the progress of the ramp a little bit. But I don't expect to hear much from Tesla regarding that. That's my opinion. I mean, we'll see. And I saw actually on Say Technologies, I saw one of the questions for this quarter was, I'm not sure if it was voted high or not, but I saw it. It was, can Tesla start breaking down volumes by factory and margins by factory? There's no way they're going to do that. We know Shanghai has a higher gross margin right now as it stands than Fremont does. But the real question is, how does 4680s and how do gigacastings affect that? That's the big story. Let's see here. Caleb says we like the stock price showing. Yes, that's my plan. I've got everything pulled up. I even got CNBC pulled up here. Hey, Tom Lee's on CNBC. Let's play it. Let's see what he has to say.
But I think Bitcoin's recovery is pretty miraculous, right? There's been almost 50% wipe out of wallets, a huge deleveraging event, maybe some fraud, and yet Bitcoin has actually bounced close to 25,000. I think it really speaks to the fact that we need to respect that price move.
Yeah, also news there that Coinbase says it has no exposure to the collapsed hedge.
Okay, I don't really care too much about Bitcoin. Let me know if you guys do in the chat. I've got some videos pulled up here that we can go through as the night goes on, whatever it might be. But we'll do our Tesla closing price guessing game quarter to close. So in about 35 more minutes here. We'll go through some GAAP, non-GAAP estimates by Twitter analysts, Wall Street analysts, that sort of thing. There was on Twitter, I did see like an estimate. Someone tweeted out a bunch of estimates compiled all together. I'll try to find that, or if someone knows, if someone has that bookmarked, feel free to just tag me on it on Twitter. But I saw it where everyone, kind of Rob Maurer, James, they kind of had all of their delivery or all of their estimations all together. So we'll see. Yeah. Okay. Well, the Bitcoin. Okay. Well, if you look at Bitcoin for a second, I'm just going to pull up Bitcoin. Bitcoin's trading at $25,000 at the moment. A huge sell-off with respect to Tesla. The reason why there's an Bitcoin impairment, it's just an accounting rule, not because Tesla actually sold any Bitcoin. I mean, maybe, but it's just an accounting rule at the moment. So that's why people usually look at just GAAP or non-GAAP or, adjusted EPS in that respect. Okay, let's pull up the videos I got lined up for today. Some Tesla videos pulled up today. Let's take a listen on Yahoo Finance.
Tesla earnings, switching gears here, out today after the bell. The company is expected to post its first sequential quarterly profit decline in over a year as it looks to recover from its shutdown in Shanghai. Pras Subramanian is here with us. Pras, what should we be looking out for here?
Yeah, Brad, so kind of a down quarter. We kind of expect that because of all the things that have happened with Tesla in China. They're expecting $16.88 billion, down around 2% compared to last year. Adjusted EPS of $1.83 a share for the quarter. A lot of the profitability metrics like adjusted net profit, operating profit, and EBITDA all going to be down over 10%, right, because of just the issues they face. But looking ahead, they want to look at their kind of production delivery forecast. Are they able to meet that 1.4 to 1.5 million that they're expected to sort of hit in 2022 in terms of production and deliveries. That's sort of the big question. Emmanuel Rosner at Deutsche Bank says, yes, they will. He says buy the shares now in terms of accumulate shares now in weakness, because he thinks that they will actually reiterate that production forecast and also sort of set up.
They're also saying it down there. You can't read it because the Tesla stock price is in the way. But it's saying why 2022 production target is the key in Tesla's Q2 earnings call.
For a better run up into the back half of the year because of, watching Berlin, watching Shanghai, watching Austin, the ramp ups there happening. So hopefully for Tesla and shareholders that this is actually a bad quarter in the books, but then hopefully looking forward, they have something to look forward to going ahead.
Yeah, Wedbush analyst Dan Ives out with a preview. I think questioning a bit how Tesla's business holds up during a recession.
Yeah, the question is, will demand go away? And I think Ives was talking about how he thinks there's so much pent-up demand that it'll take a lot for it to actually kind of decrease and seeing numbers come down. I think he expects them to continue selling as much as they can build going forward. And if you hit that, if Giga Austin and Giga Berlin kind of go online fully, they're going to be up over 2 million, units.
Yeah, so I see some comments. 183, saw 177. So the street consensus, sometimes you'll get whisper numbers. Remember, it's hard because sometimes they'll compare, they'll adjust for non-GAAP, and maybe sometimes they'll say this is the GAAP estimate. So it's just you have to be careful with what exactly that they're highlighting as their estimate. But the adjusted non-GAAP street consensus is $1.77 as per Gary back yesterday. We can look at the whisper number here in a couple seconds.
Units of deliveries per year, which is a lot, and I wonder if there is still enough demand for those vehicles. I think they are so far.
And then there's also sort of the Twitter overhang, I think, as well.
You can't have a Tesla segment nowadays on TV without talking about Elon and Twitter, which I guess it makes sense, right, from a TV entertainment perspective. But really, Tesla, the stock hasn't really suffered because of this news. It's been mostly macro related.
Yesterday, Elon Musk and his team were dealt a setback because the trial is going to be fast tracked. And I wonder if that's, he doesn't tend to get on the earnings call, right? So I don't know if we're going to get anything out of this.
Wait, is he on the earnings call? Wait, what did she just say? Let me just go back.
He doesn't tend to get on the earnings call.
Doesn't. She said doesn't. Elon's not on this call, is he?
Right.
Does anyone know?
I don't know if we're going to get anything out of this to sort of help us understand how that's affecting what's going on at Tesla.
Yeah, I'm still not sure if he's going to actually be on that call. He hasn't actually said one way or the other, but I bet it'll come up. He doesn't be at the trial, so it's going to be kind of let his lawyers handle that. So he'll be kind of more focused on Tesla right now. But you're right, it is an overhang, of course, this whole distraction of Twitter. But it seems to be sort of, fast track that trial, see what happens. Maybe you can stay focused on the cars and the EVs and all that. Look,
wait, someone's saying, most of you guys are saying that he hasn't confirmed. But someone is saying Elon said on Twitter he's on the call today. Really? Let me pull that up. Elon said that today? I didn't know that. I've been running around. Let's see here. He replied here. I don't see it. My thought is Elon will be on the call. That's if I had to guess. Leave in the chat what you guys think. Barring any sort of information coming. Oh, Sawyer Merritt asked. He said yes. Oh, really? Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up. Shout out to Sawyer. Okay, hold on. I missed it. He says no. Not to that. Someone tag me on that on Twitter. I don't see it. Maybe Elon deleted it, or I'm just tripping probably. Let's see here. Yeah, someone tag me on that at Hey It's Yashio on Twitter. Go to Elon's page and look at yes. You guys are saying he's there. Okay, well, Elon will be there. I guess I couldn't find it, but that's interesting. I did not know that. Okay, well, that makes sense. I said this the other day. I said, if the quarter is going to be as ugly as it is painted out to be, it makes sense for Elon to be on that call and to face the questions. When you're running victory laps, then if you don't want to show up, fine. But I'm sure Elon realizes that as a CEO, he's got to face kind of the music and the questions that come out. Someone tag me on it. Someone tag me on that. 7:45. To be honest, it doesn't really change much for me in terms of thought process on the earnings call. I think it's great to get his insights. I know a lot of Tesla investors, especially last call or a couple calls ago when it was just Martin and Zach. You guys loved it with Elon not on the call, but it definitely adds a lot more headlines when he does come on. Is it really? Oh God. Interesting. Okay. He said yes to some. So there's some debate in the chat whether or not he said yes to it or not, or if he's saying yes to something else. I guess we'll find out. It doesn't really matter too much. 745 sitting on Tesla. Martin says, Yash, do you think Elon being on vacation is bullish? I mean, it's hard not to think so. Also, from what I remember Elon saying, like Elon says he hates going on vacation. He went on vacation in like 07 or something, and then like catastrophe hit on his businesses. So for all intents and purposes, he avoids vacations. So yeah, I mean, Elon was in Greece. Personally, he's still human. I think we have to realize that he's not like a robot. I mean, some might say he's an alien. Paul, thank you for tagging me in that. If this is what you guys are talking about with Elon saying he's going to be on the call, he's replying to a tweet that says, and people say overall population is a question. He just said yes. He didn't say yes to being on the call. I mean, if this is it, I'm not sure if this is what you guys are referring to. Guess we'll see. But yeah, I mean, look, Elon's human. Like, going on vacation is pretty normal. He doesn't really go on vacation that often. I found it funny. Like, imagine being on vacation and just like having paparazzi follow you around everywhere you go, which probably already happens, but everywhere around the world on these like Greek islands. But the dude needs a tan. I mean, Elon needs a tan for sure. Easy for me to say, right? By the way, man, hold on. Let's go back here. Nicholas, I forgot to eat a juju slice for your super chat. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. I'm gonna be jujued out today. Let me know what you guys are. Let me know in the chat. Do you want Elon on the call? Yes or no? Throw in the chat. I just want to gauge sentiment to see what you guys are thinking. I mean, to me, I would love to get his insights on. Look here. Actually, let me pull up the Sawyer. Let me pull up the Say Technologies questions of the day on the earnings call. No, yes, no, yes. Pretty split. No, yes. Honestly, I don't wish to have Elon kind of pros and cons. 500 million sweet spot. No, yes. This is what I thought. It's pretty split down the middle. Brian says yes. Elon's more funnier. No, yes. You know what? I'd probably say it's about 60% no, 40% yes from the chat at least. Honestly, this is kind of the sentiment I got from last time as well, was that a lot of retail investors in Tesla, like, I don't think Tesla goes down because of what Elon says. I think for the most part, it's just algo trading based on the numbers that come out. But I think the reason why you see the sentiment like this is because of the headlines that get put out the next day, which people just say correlation equals causation. It's interesting. It's pretty down the middle, actually. You guys are, it's about 60-40 no, yes. Interesting. These are the questions, by the way, if you were interested. The top questions voted by the most shares. Chinese EV manufacturers seem to be doing a better job than their Western competitors, excluding Tesla, at innovating in software and design. How can Tesla make sure the company is staying ahead of those manufacturers both within and without China? Fair enough. I'm surprised that this is the number one question, in my opinion. So there's that. Look, I think my opinion on this, in case anyone actually cares, probably not. I think the Chinese manufacturers, the EV manufacturers, are doing a great job. China has one of the highest EV adoption rates as a country in the world per capita. So, or not per capita, pardon me, just as a whole. And yeah, I mean, there's some European countries that have lower populations, but China is doing a great job of transitioning to EVs. I still am doubtful whether or not the Chinese brands can make their way outside of China and succeed. I made that comparison with something like Huawei. Why don't you see, and for all intents and purposes, as an Apple fanboy, it hurts me to say this, but like Androids, Huawei's, some phones, like these phones have way better specs than iPhones. But why do iPhones win, right? I think branding, the North American branding, has a lot to do with it. I still have my doubts whether or not Chinese EV brands will be able to proliferate outside of China, within the US and Canada, let's say specifically. Yeah, Rodrigo says Polestar is Chinese, Geely owned. Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's some sort of like, it's interesting with Polestar, right? But actually, I saw my first Polestar. I posted it on Discord the other day. I saw my first Polestar. Don't even know what model it was, like the 4 or 5 or whatever. It's a nice looking car. It's a really nice looking car. I actually stopped. You know, you can tell when cars are EV'd, you know, like sometimes you can, like, you just pass a car, you're like, that's an EV. And you don't even have to look. I guess it's the lack of grills and whatnot. But even from the back, you can just tell that it just looks a little bit modern. Mimi says iPhone even wins in China. Exactly, right? So good question. I think what Elon is going to say to this, I think Elon's very careful with establishing good relations within China and making sure that, you know, he's on the safe side with respect to it. But I see a comment BYD. Yeah, I mean BYD as well. But remember, BYD also makes hybrids and gas cars as well. So the unit numbers that come out, everyone just thinks they're just an EV manufacturer, which is not true. Kilroth says, I thought they banned Huawei. I think what you're referring to is the 5G. They didn't get approval on that. Okay, next question. Let me just focus on my chat there. Number 2, when will Tesla have a unified vector space for both the static and moving object network? Will this be V11 or later version? If the latter, can you explain what makes it a difficult problem in layman's terms? Good luck getting the layman's terms part out of this question, right? I'm actually surprised it's an institutional question. Do I have it filtered for both? Yeah, I'm surprised that's an institutional question. This actually feels very retail like. I don't know. I really have no input on that question. The third question, the top 3, the last one here. Elon recently tweeted about lowering prices, quote, once inflation cools down, unquote. Can you elaborate what this means by cooling down, and how aggressively will the company lower prices? More broadly, how do you think about auto pricing long term? Great question. I don't think Tesla will be able to lower prices. I begrudgingly say that. And as someone that really hates the fact that prices just keep going up and up and up, I really don't think Tesla will be able to. There's a backlog of people that have locked in pricing higher and higher on the kind of escalator price up. And as we stand here right now, if Tesla were to just slash prices by 5,000, everyone in that wait list would just cancel and then reorder or be pissed off. I just don't see how that is a good solution. Maybe once demand is tapped out, but that's kind of anyone's guess as to when that happens. Let's do the top retail questions on this, shall we? Okay. Hold on, I'm just gonna make sure I don't miss anything here. By the way, hit like, hit subscribe if you're new here. Shout out to you joining me on a hot 12:30 Wednesday afternoon pre-earnings. We've got Tesla earnings coming up in about 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 48 seconds per my timer. Okay, top retail question. How do you feel the progress of FSD is going, and does Andre Karpathy leaving have any impact on the timelines / potential progress? Okay. I get where this question is coming from. I just feel like it's a little bit too myopic. Look, I think we give too much credit to one person in a whole department of people. Maybe I'm wrong in that. But the premise of the question is, how do you think the progress of FSD is going? Any timelines on potential progress? I think Elon is just going to continually say end of this year is what we're going for FSD beta wide release. I don't know if we're going to get too much information out of this. Number 2, how's the 4680 ramp going, and is Gigatex producing cells yet? Okay. By the way, shout out during the chat. Shout out to Sandy Monroe if you watched his video on the breakdown of the Model Y. It's great having those kind of resources as kind of individual retail investors. How the ramp is going, I reckon this is probably going to be pointed towards beginning of next year. I think Elon said on last earnings call that this fiscal year, they can hit their 1.5 million cars goal with all the batteries that they have. It doesn't matter if 4680 or not. But next year is really where they need the 4680s to hit the scale that they need for their goal next year. So I reckon this is probably a question that's going to be just brought into for next year. And my guess is answer to this is probably, we're still working on it. Ramp is going good, but really what we're aiming for is Q1 for hitting like real production, real ramp. Bradford's in the chat. Walter Ferguson said financial. Andre has the best last name for FSD though. Carpathing. I know. I tweeted this out and I got like very little likes. I forget when I tweeted this out, like months and months ago. It's the best, right? If you think about it, it's quite literally the best name, Carpathy. When did I tweet this out? I think it's here it is. Hold on. I tweeted this out December. Yeah, I got 2 likes on it. December 29th. Carpathy is literally Carpathy. And I said this is evidence that we're in a simulation. Very astute. Okay, so this is kind of a repeat question. It's the third highest voted question on the retail side. Can you speak with some level of precision on the 4680 RAM? Expected versus actual. Same for expected daily output versus actual. When does the output start meeting plan? To this question, I would say good luck. I don't know. We're just probably not going to get information like this. Caleb says, who said 1.5 million delivers? I thought they said 50% CAGR. That would be 1.4. Yeah, I mean, 1.5, I'm just kind of rounding up. But remember, yeah, you're right. It's the long-term CAGR. But for all intents and purposes, from the last call, from the way that management was speaking about their goals, they were talking about 1.4 or 1.5 million cars, albeit this was before a lot of the China shutdown. So that's what will be interesting to see. Number 4, highest voted question, when will Cybertruck be officially available? Let me know in the chat what your guys' thoughts are. Throw a quarter or a month plus the year when you think the first Cybertruck will be sold officially. My thought on this is Q2 next year. That's my going guess at the moment. Throw in the chat what your guess is. First delivery June 2023. Okay, fair enough. Q1 2021, 2022 says Matthew. I think you mean Q1 next year, right? Yeah. Q1 2024 says John. August next year. End of Q4 next year, Q3. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it sucks how much it's gotten delayed. But I'm still at the point where with Tesla at the moment where I don't care about the mix of cars yet. I think what matters most at the moment is the unit volume of cars. We can talk about mix after, when unit volume starts to get capped out with demand. Like, the whole reason you diversify as a business is so that you can grow unit volumes. But if you can grow unit volumes just with Model 3, Model Y, Model X and S to a lower degree, let's say, if you can just grow unit volumes massively with the Model Y, there's no real reason to rush the mix just yet. December 2023, yeah, June. It seems like the going consensus is probably middle to middle-ish end of next year, fourth quarter, yeah. Yeah, I mean, AI Day 2 is coming up as well. So those are the top questions. I can't say I love them amazingly. Like, let me know where your thoughts are in the chat with the questions that we have today. I don't think any of them are like, oh, I can't wait for this answer. What else is there? Yeah, FSD. They're all 4680 or FSD pretty much related in terms of institutional investors. Okay, let's go back to Webull. 745 sitting on Tesla. And to be honest, like, I'm not throwing shade at the question people or the questioners per se. It's just, this quarter is a little bit of not a wild card, but it's just a little bit of no one really knows what to be looking out for massively. Like, the last couple quarters, we wanted to know, okay, Tesla fourth quarter, how did it go? How are the gross margins to end the year at scale? And then the Q1 call, okay, how did the shutdowns affect it towards the end of the quarter? Okay, well, how did the ramp? So, like, this quarter is a little bit of it's like a middle ground area almost. Okay, let's see here. Alex says, if margins are 30%, who cares about the questions? Yeah, I mean, if gross margins, let's say X ZEV credits come above 30%, I know I'm just getting a little bit wild here talking about that. Probably not going to happen, but yeah. Let's talk about options order flow now, shall we? This is Tradietex, link in the description if you want to check them out. We're seeing a lot of put action coming in. 725 strikes. This is live, by the way, so this will refresh as it goes through. Shout out to you guys subscribing, by the way. John, Bobby, see you guys coming in. I have my I have my little Elon alert that should pop up as folks subscribe. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on the calls and put action coming in towards the end of the day. As it stands right now, it's just kind of a mixed bag. And of course, remember, there's going to be a lot of hedging happening towards the end of the day. Right now, we got 30 minutes until close here. So, someone tagged me on Twitter saying, "Is this legit?" Let me check this out. Oh, I can't pull it up now. I guess we'll see. I'm still going to go with Elon is going to be on this call today. That's my thought. Well, when the quarter is not going to be as great as anticipated, let's say, I think it makes sense for Elon to come on. That's my thoughts. CSZA. I always have a hard time pronouncing your username. I don't know why. I'm just dyslexic like that. Are battery constraints the cause of new delayed factory announcements? Well, that's a good question. I mean, last shareholders meeting, last annual shareholders meeting last year, 2021, we got some hints that towards the end of this year, 2022, Tesla might start getting into more talking about production and increasing factories, finding new factories, I should say. So towards the end of this year makes sense for some sort of news coming out around that. Tesla's pretty open from their last hunt with Tulsa versus Giga Texas, of like being open of like, okay, these are the cities in the running, and then kind of publicly negotiating against them. I don't see, and of course, since then we've kind of had Shanghai 2.0 come out, so you can make an argument that that's kind of been a new factor as well. I don't know per se when we'll get an idea of new factories being built or Tesla looking for new factories. But towards the end of the year may make sense to get some thoughts from Elon around, okay, how many more factories are we looking at in the next 5 to 10 years? So we'll see. But the 4680s out of Berlin and Austin, I mean, I had Lee, Tesla economist, on the channel. Shout out to him. He continues to say like the production out of these factories is super underappreciated at the moment. So, let's see. John says Elon needs to show he's focused on Tesla as well with the Twitter overhang. Well, I think Elon is probably showing that with the amount of time that he's spending on the factory lines. He tweeted that out the other day, saying that he's on the factory right now, already back from vacation. So we'll take that from it. And really, I don't think Elon is too much of a person to want to virtue signal about that too much. I guess you could say so. But anyways, let's watch CNBC. This is a video titled, came out just now, or yesterday, last night. This Chartmaster says Tesla is, quote, on a knife's edge ahead of earnings. Let's take a listen.
Earnings after the bell tomorrow, and the Chartmaster says the electric automaker is sitting on a knife's edge heading into the report. So let's bring in Carter Worth of Worth Charting with the technical tale. Carter, take it away.
Well, that's right. I mean, you can feel the tension. It's the definition of a knife's edge. It's sitting finely balanced between success and failure. We have this tight range. You see it annotated there on the screen. Every chart we're going to look at is the same chart over different time frames. So basically, if you take it back a little further, we've been, I would call this high volatility, low variance. We're not moving anywhere, but we're stuck with these wild gyrations of 20% between essentially 600 and 800. If you pull it back even further, you'll see basically where this debate or standoff is occurring. It's occurring under the trend line, having broken trend. So again, it's near perfect equilibrium, bears and bulls balanced evenly, and of course we know exactly what's going to resolve it, as is so
the longer the base.
Often the case. The funny metals, they're going to say something in their earnings that people generally hate or like enough to move it substantially higher or lower. Highly unlikely that it stays range bound like this. Now, is it a coin toss? It's as close to that as you're going to get. We've put out reports saying that we think it's going to break to the downside, but I'll just tell you this, of some 2,000 respondents, both at the institutional level, the individual level, and on Twitter, It's running 60-40, that it will go down. 40% are saying no, it's going to get resolved up.
Okay.
Really interesting stuff there. That is quite a tight range looking at those different.
Look, you guys know what I think about technical analysis. I've said my dues on the channel a lot. I think technical analysis, especially specifically for me, moving averages are a great way to see where outstanding demand or outstanding supply may sit as stocks travel between them. Now, I think longer term, if you're talking longer term on a stock, of course, technical analysis is, I mean, earnings is really what's going to move a stock up. If Tesla all of a sudden stops reporting any earnings and says, look, we're just going to be at a break even for the foreseeable future, something crazy, well, then the stock's going to get re-rated, right? Long term. So we're talking about the growth story of Q4 and gross margins coming back up and 4680s, gigacastings helping gross margins. It's going to trade based on that on the long term. So as much as we love technical analysis, let's say, and we're pretty balanced at the moment. By the way, a lot of people said for so long, look, Tesla's going to crash. And it has, 50%. So is the macro market. But people were like, okay, well, Tesla's at $3,500 pre-split at the moment. You know, it's been stress tested quite a bit. And we're still sitting here at $750 post-split.
Time periods. Thanks, Carter. Guy, where do you stand on where Tesla's going to go from here? Are you in the 60 camp, the 40 camp?
Before I say that, I'm sure Karen will get a kick out of this. Clearly, Carter coming to us from the Guggenheim at the Kandinsky exhibition. Wonderful job by Carter, number one. Number two, I'm with Carter on this. Listen, last quarter, that April quarter was astonishing, and the stock traded up to, I think, 1,100, obviously only to sell off to low 600s, and here we are now. I think you're going to see a similar move. I think the stock probably bounces post-earnings, but you sell it again. And I don't think we've heard the last of former President Trump's rants about Elon Musk, and I think they're going to get more directed and.
What does that have to do with the stock long term on a fundamental basis? I just don't get it.
They come more at him in terms of Tesla, the stock. So.
And are we implying that Trump tweeting about Elon had a negative effect on the stock price?
I think there are a lot of chapters left in this Tesla story, and I'm going to be having my popcorn on the sideline. But I think higher post-earnings, lower after, just like last quarter.
Gene, you're still with us, Gene Munster. I think that
hey, Gene's
you
on.
believe that there is a long-term story here for the bulls, right? What do you make of Tesla?
Well, the first step is remove religious conversation. This is a religion, and I try to be judicious at not falling into thinking this is too good or too bad of a company. I just look at what I see as the facts. The facts are that the auto industry is a $2.5 trillion market, and that Tesla is one of the few companies that are leaders there, and they have outsized demand for their products. And I want to just quickly put some of the demand into perspective, is that in the June quarter, they reported 27% delivery growth, down from 67% in the March quarter, disappointing deceleration. When you adjust for Shanghai, the growth would have been similar to what it was in March. It would have been 68%, so call it unchanged. The reason why growth is high, despite the fact that it's getting more expensive to buy a car, more expensive to take loans out on a car, is that people want their cars. And so I don't know if the stock is going to be up or down after they report, but I do know that demand for their products outpaces their ability to produce them. And when I compare the 200 and call it 60,000 vehicles that Tesla produced globally to the 7,000, this is apples and oranges, but the GM...
Oranges? Shout out Gene. GG slice for him.
Sold electric vehicles that GM sold in the U.S. in the June quarter. It is such a wide gap. It makes me believe that this company will find its way to a much higher valuation. And just to finish the thought, where this ultimately goes, again, not investment advice, but I think this is a $2,500 stock over the next 5 years. I think that ultimately it's going to be more than just electric cars. I believe that their solar business is going to get moving. I also think that they can do other things, whether it's related to insurance or related to HVAC systems. There's, I think the robot is a dream. That's not going to play into the model, Optimus Prime, but no other car company has all of those optionality on the table. And I think that's what makes this company a unique investment opportunity.
That ended.
You know what I like about Gene? By the way, I've been trying to get Gene on channels. Gene, if you're listening, come join the Juju gang. What I like about Gene's answer is everyone else talking about technical analysis, talking about where the stock's headed, bold bears, let's say, oh, Tesla's earnings going to be crap. And the Gene brings it back to what we were talking about, with fundamental earnings in the long-term basis. And I get it. We on this channel, we're kind of invaders, right? Investing and trading. And in the short term, you can be a little bit more myopic and talk about, this is how the options flow looks like, this is where the technicals are sitting, for example, or this is where we see an imbalance, and this is where the order book is hitting. But in the long term, if we're talking a long-term basis, what moves the stock in the long term over time is going to be fundamentals, and that's where Tesla in Q4 of this year. Really, I was getting some flack for it, but I was like, I almost like kind of write off Q3 to a degree as well. Like I get it, Q2, everyone's writing off. Even Q3, just kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. But let's focus on Q4, because by the time Q4 hits, hopefully, cross my fingers, all factories are well, Shanghai is definitely full ramp. Giga Berlin, Giga Austin, those are going to be, way higher in terms of their scale on ramp. Q3, who actually knows? So Q4 is really what's what we're focusing on, I think, because we can annualize that EPS number and then get to a degree where I think it makes more sense with less exogenous effects hitting the books.
Its founder, of course, as well. Gene, thank you very much. The stock is sitting at 736, so 2,500 would be quite a run from here in 5 years, but we'll see if we can do it. We'll see you back tomorrow after the report. Tim, what's your take on Tesla? Gene says he's not going to make a call on whether the stock is up or down after the report, but you can get out your crystal ball.
Well, I'll speak to Tesla, the religion, and so, in other words, the sentiment and the cult-like status, I believe, is what we're referencing here. Stocks significantly underperformed the higher beta part of the market that's rallied over the last couple of weeks, and even off of Memorial Day, you've actually had the NASDAQ outperforming the S&P by about 5%. Is that a change in character? Not necessarily. But for a stock, again, on the religion side that moved 160% on two events, essentially in calendar 2020, which were the S&P inclusion and were a stock split. What are those next moments? I look at the fundamentals. I look at a 60 PE. I just don't think stocks are trading at those premiums or will be. And I think there's still some ratcheting down of that to go. I also just look at competition in Asia from Hyundai, from Kia, from some of the big
competition is coming
in that part of the world where I do think EV continues to move forward. So this was always a competitive.
Well, hold on. This is always a what?
Story.
Competitive
and right
story.
now,
okay.
I actually think that the competition has closed the gap. That was the story 2 years ago, and Tesla outperformed. But the religion is something to pay close attention to, because I think it's tough to get that kind of a following in this market.
Okay, look, I'm actually one of the. You guys can testify to this. I love it when new EV models come out and they're affordable and they look nice, like the Ioniq, the Mach-E. Like, these cars look good. But to hit scale, you first have to be at a unit economic profit with the cars that you're selling, unless you want them to be loss leaders, in which case you have to keep raising capital or going into the balance sheet. It's hard to get to scale. That's the biggest thing. We talked about the Mach-E's. They've all been recalled, I'm pretty sure. Like, it's hard. It's going to be hard for other car makers that are relying on ICE manufacturing, internal combustion engine cars, as their bread and butter, to all of a sudden now have to switch everything over into an EV landscape to which they don't have economics, or unit economics. They don't have the human capital that's needed for scale. And even if they did want to scale, they'd be doing it at a loss. There was a tweet yesterday that Mars actually put out. Omar put out with the Bolt. And there was some institutional investor who did a dig down into the Bolt and estimated that they were losing about 4,000 to 6,000 per Bolt sold. I'll try to find it here. So, and that's the Bolt. The Bolt actually did fairly well in terms of absolute value. I think they sold about 100,000 worldwide or something like that. So, let's see here. Let's see if I can find it. Bolt. I'll find it later. So 743 sitting on Tesla stock at the moment. We'll play our Tesla. Oh, we got to play our Tesla closing price guessing game. Brian says just voted on shareholder meeting. Don't forget. That's right. Good reminder. All right, let's play our Tesla closing price guessing game. Remember, Price is Right rules. Throw in the chat one guess per person for Tesla closing price today. Remember, Price is Right rules, meaning you have to guess at or under the stock price. Even over by a penny, you can't win. we shall see who wins. Hopefully there's not too many chats coming in. I'll try to keep them all paged up here so we don't lose them. I saw Farzad did something cool where he made like a Google form, and I've been trying to do that, but that would involve, I'm pretty sure, me getting all your guys' email addresses, and honestly, I don't want them. So don't want you guys to have to give up an email or something. Maybe there's a better way to do it one day. Question here, Marcel Yashu, what are your thoughts about the latest version of Cybertruck? I'm a long-term investor for years, and the first time I feel disappointed about a Tesla product. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I'm definitely disappointed with the timeline. The way, as an investor, I guess, to kind of rationalize it for now is, as long as Tesla is justified in growing their unit volumes, like if Tesla is keeping with their 50% long-term CAGR goals and can do it with the current mix that they have, that's really not an issue. The reason why you even mix product lines, or let's say you diversify your product line and you increase your mix, is so you can grow unit volumes. And so if Tesla starts being capped out at their demand, which I don't see happening at the moment, then yes, then whatever. But yeah, I mean, as a reservation holder, it's probably just a little bit disappointing. Oh, Tim says you don't need to gather any emails with Google. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay, maybe I'll do that for the next one. Hit like, hit subscribe. We're at 184 likes, 875 people watching. Let's get to 500 likes, shall we? Is that asking for too much? If you're enjoying the content, if you're enjoying the stream, you don't need to go anywhere, by the way. Tesla call will be streamed on here as well. Consider hitting like and subscribing to the channel. Okay, 744.54 sitting on Tesla at the moment, and I'll pull up the options order flow. Maybe I'll pull up on Discord at the moment. Let's see here. Oh, thank you, Marco, for posting that into the Discord. Just gonna post this in. Let's see. Let's see the bots. Net outflow. It's all net flows. There we go. Let's see what's happening with Tesla's flows. I'll put it on the screen here in a second. Let me just print this chart out. Okay. What app do I use for program? For this is Webull, but if you're talking about for options and order flows and stuff like that, then I have TradyTix. Link in the description if you want to check it out. Okay, let's pull up CNBC. Let's see what they're talking about tech rallies.
On the week, what are you watching as this rally looks a little more durable?
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of opportunities today for it to really back off, maybe digest some of the gains that we've gotten. The indexes seem pretty intent on kind of rushing to the next test to the upside for the S&P. That's very close by. It's just over 4,000. Seems like we got this breakout off the that 2 out of 3 day rally that we got Friday into yesterday, and now people are chasing it just a little bit. Again, you keep everything on a short leash. You understand it's been a longer-term downturn. This might be probably, I would say, the second best rally we've had since the peak in January. Still more to prove, but you do have credit markets really helping out the story in the last couple of days by strengthening.
Look at Netflix. It's near the top of the market. After yesterday's less bad results than Wall Street had feared, still it is the first time in the company's history
Poor
to
Netflix,
suffer two straight quarters of
Netflix is crazy. Let's pull up Netflix for a hot second. Poor Netflix. Not today, but just in general. Look at this stock. It's just nuts. The re-rating that's happened. This will happen, I guess, when investors are like, yep, you're going to stop growing now. And you've lost 1 million subscribers in the last quarter, which, by the way, was actually way under analyst estimations. They're down. Netflix is down 69%. Nice. In the last, how long is this? 164 trading days, 242 days. Just nuts since November. By the way, you know what's crazy? November feels like, okay, yesterday. Like November was when tech stocks were at highs and all this sort of stuff. Like it's almost August. It's almost August. August, September, October, November. In 3 or 4 months, like we're back. That's nuts. This year went by way too fast. Maybe I'm alone in that thinking. Okay, here is the Tesla. Let's see here, the Tesla chart. Where is it? Oh, I didn't get printed out yet. Okay, 744 is sitting on Tesla at the moment. What are you guys tagging me on Twitter for? Let's see. So we'll see. Let's do Tesla EPS estimates. Thanks for subscribing, y'all. Appreciate that. I don't know if my goal number is actually updating at all, but I see the subscribers. Appreciate you. Troy Tesla, by the way, I did notice this. Troy, actually I didn't pull up Troy here. Troy's actually quite bullish on this quarter in terms of gross margin, GAAP EPS, everything. Troy is sitting at a non-GAAP EPS estimate of $2.18. Of course, we know street consensus is $1.77. And automotive gross margins ex ZEV credits, it was 30% in quarter one. He's estimating a rise in gross margin ex ZEV credits this quarter, which is like, I mean, if that happened, that would be kind of mind-boggling. And consensus we know is sitting at 26.2. I don't know. Like, as much as I want to believe this, I think it's almost too good to be true if that were to happen. Let's pull this up. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Tesla did sell a lot more S and X's this quarter, so that could help with ASP. And then 4680s and gigahastings are entirely kind of a black box for us. We kind of get no idea. Is there an earnings call bingo sheet this quarter? I wonder if we should play bingo. We tried playing it a couple quarters ago. I remember someone sent me that. Yeah, I mean, Troy is usually quite conservative, right? So it's interesting seeing his estimates be so high. Rio says Gary has $1.40. Well, I think Gary has quite high restructuring costs baked in, which I think makes sense. But I'm not sure if he might be at $1.40 GAAP EPS. I'm actually not sure if. Actually, I'll pull it up. See what Gary says. Today is, what's his estimate at? What's Gary's estimate at? Is he really at $1.40? Guess we'll see. This whole Twitter Tesla thing, Elon. Yeah, I don't know. I guess he's right here. Headline is the non-GAAP EPS will baffle media. $1.40 estimated, including one-time charges, versus street $1.77. I think he's saying that this is the gap. And by the way, we can check out Earnings Whisper if we want as well to see what Tesla is sitting at for EPS. So the Whisper number is $1.63. So in a regular market, to see stock move higher, you probably want to beat the Whisper. Street's actually higher than Whisper this time around. So let's just say beat Street at $1.77. What's Troy's track record with gross margin? That's a good question, actually. I don't know. Yeah. Valerian says Tesla economist had a miscalculation. Probably Troy does as well. Really? Did he? I guess I missed that video. Interesting. Oh, Marcel says, yeah, sure. I meant all the changes that they made on the Cybertruck. I'm not disappointed about the timeline. Well, I guess let me know what changes you're referring to. I just kind of knew that the Cybertruck, even today as it stands, I take that back. I think they said that the design is now finalized. But it's just a bulky car. I'm not sure what changes you were referring to that you're disappointed in particularly. Feel free to throw in the comment. They're on CNBC. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We're a little bit more concerned about Tesla's quarterly results this time. I mean, they have a good track record. You know, they've beat 10 of the last 11 quarters, but Q2 presented some unique challenges that we think are really going to weigh on their bottom line. So we're at $1.48 for the quarter. The consensus is $1.80. And the reason we're at $1.48 is the impact of COVID on their Shanghai factory, as well as startup costs related to the two new factories, one in Austin and the other in Berlin. We think are really going to weigh on their bottom line. But more important than the quarter, we think, is their outlook for the year. We know they ended Q2 on a strong note. Their June production was the strongest in company history. So we think investors will be looking for more signs that that momentum is going to carry over to stronger volumes in the second half of the year.
But do you expect that to happen? Because if so, would you be a buyer on the stock even if you do expect sort of bad news today, because some of that news is dependent on the Shanghai factory, which hopefully should reopen.
It is open.
We are buyers, and we think if there's a weak headline number, you could have a pullback in the stock after hours, and that would be a really good buying opportunity. I mean, the stock's already down about 30% year to date, so we put out a report a few weeks ago looking at the long-term opportunity, and whether Tesla reports a beat or miss, or however the earnings release ends up, however the stock reacts to it, we think investors will do very well looking ahead a year, 3 years, 5 years down the road by buying Tesla around these levels.
There's also the macro environment, which I'm sure will come up on the call, and just whether so far Tesla has seen more demand than supply, but whether the demand picture is changing. Garrett, also just wanted to run by a headline, a report just this hour that Ford Motor is preparing to cut as many as 8,000 jobs in the coming weeks as it tries to boost profits to fund its push into the EV market.
Wow,
That's
Ford.
A Bloomberg report citing people familiar. Does that
Ford.
come as a surprise? Are we going to see more layoffs in the auto industry?
It's not surprising.
We do see more layoffs coming. So that's about 4% of Ford's global workforce. You've seen Elon Musk already come out and announce some job cuts. But you're going to see more of that from traditional auto manufacturers.
In case you forgot.
As they pivot more jobs to their EV businesses. So, and they certainly want to get ahead of the competition, as far as cutting jobs if we do have a recession. And, U.S. auto sales were down 20% in the second quarter. So, all signs show that, demand is certainly pulled back.
Got it, Garrett. Thank you very much.
Well, it's funny. I mean, wasn't Biden just talking about how Ford was hiring all these people while Tesla was laying everyone off just a couple weeks ago? So interesting. Okay. And by the way, Bradford, friend of the channel, said in the chat, and I think this is great, I expect nothing this quarter. There's the closing bell. I expect nothing this quarter. As long as it isn't a loss, I don't care. I think this quarter is a complete write-off anyways. So I totally agree. I'm not expecting much from this quarter. But like I said on my video yesterday, those are the quarters you got to watch for, because you never know if you see a drastic move one way or another. Okay, so we're going to keep refreshing. Someone asks if I'm going to be, if this stream is going to be on for the call. Yes, it will be. So don't worry about that. We'll be on for the stream, or for the Tesla earnings call on this stream. So you can keep it locked and loaded here. You don't have to go anywhere. Okay, I'm going to keep refreshing Tesla IR page to see as that report comes out. Then we'll share it on screen as it comes out. The shareholder deck. Someone will, I'm sure, for some reason, I'm always the last person to, when I refresh, to actually get anything on my computer. Someone inevitably in the chat has it way before me. So we'll see. And by the way, I'm expecting headlines to already, like I said this in my video yesterday, headlines to already be written about Bitcoin impairment. Tesla loses $500 million on Bitcoin trading, even though we know that's not true. It's just an accounting loss. So expect those headlines. That's why I really am not expecting much in terms of upside after hours today. But you know what to say about expecting things. Okay, I'm going to keep F5ing as I read the chat to see. You know, I saw that. I saw some people, like, for subscribing, Howie, Francisco, Adrian. I did see that. Some analysts that are very bearish on Tesla had EPS estimates at like $2.50, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know how that happens. Okay. I've got everything. I think United Airlines is also reporting today after hours. Marcel. Okay, I'll check that out, Marcel. Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I haven't seen that one. So I guess I'm missing context there. What do they do with the windshield wiper on the Cybertruck? I'm not entirely sure. Okay. So remember, watch the headlines as they come out. Yeah, Digital says I'm totally emotionless when it comes to this. I'm pretty much the same at the moment. I mean, if what Tesla would have to say to really jolt me, at least, would be, look, we're actually reconsidering our 50% long-term growth because our batteries aren't scaling, or, you know, we're having troubles with demand. You know, something like that would be fundamental to the story of Tesla. Them coming out saying, look, we have a $500 billion Bitcoin impairment loss on GAAP EPS. Yeah. So, but we're going to see those headlines regardless. The deck is out. Harry says. See, this is what I mean. I'm always the last one here. I don't think it's out yet. I've got my Twitter pulled up here in case anything comes up. I don't think it's out yet. Hit and refresh. Usually it'll give me a link, but when I click it, it won't load for me. But yeah, okay, you guys don't see it either. Okay, false alarm. Don't worry. Almost there. Might take 5 or 10 minutes. I think last quarter took like 12 minutes after the closing bell. So I'll keep that pulled up. I've got Webull here for everyone to look at the stock. Where are we sitting after hours? After hours, oh, okay, so something's out. After hours, we are up. We're up 1.5%. Nothing major here. Let me just pull up after hours trading. Okay, so we're moving up a little bit after hours, albeit very choppy for now. The shareholder deck. Let's see here. Okay, so you guys are saying it's a beat. I don't know where it is. I'm guessing this is just from stuff hitting the wire for now. Don't know. Do you guys see anything? Throw in the chat. Not out? Okay, yeah. Not. I'm guessing someone got word of it before we all did on Wall Street. I don't know. Be careful with the after hour moves as well. Like we know, even if Tesla's up a couple percent, one news item, one headline, all it really takes to move up and down. So we'll see. Nothing yet. Okay. Oh, here it is. Got it. Here's a 2022 update. Okay. $2.5 billion GAAP operating income, 14.6% operating margin in quarter two, $2.3 billion GAAP net income, 2.6 non-GAAP excluding stock-based comp, 27.9 GAAP automotive gross margin in quarter two. Okay, let me just read the headlines here. We continue to make significant progress across the business during the second quarter of 2022, though we face certain challenges, including limited production and shutdowns in Shanghai. For the majority of the quarter, we achieved an operating margin among the highest in the industry of 14.6%, positive free cash flow of $621 million, and ended the quarter with the highest vehicle production month in our history. That was June. New factories, Berlin and Austin, continue to ramp, achieved an important milestone of 1,000 cars produced in a single week. That was Berlin, I'm pretty sure, and achieving positive gross margin. Hey, so the new factories are a part of positive gross margin for the quarter. Nice. From our Austin factory, the first vehicles with Tesla-made 4680 cells and structural battery packs were delivered to U.S. customers. We're continuing to invest in capacity expansion for our factories to maximize production. Okay. The energy business made significant progress as well. Okay. Fremont and Shanghai factories achieving their highest ever production months and new factory growth. We are focused on record-breaking second half of 2022. Okay, so this is the financials to look at here. So automotive revenues, $14.6 billion, of which, so 344, so a substantial coming down from last quarter of regulatory credits, which is fine. A 27.9% automotive gross margin for the quarter, which is down year over year, 46 basis points. So not a lot. So total revenue, I should say 16.9. So 16.9, I think that's pretty much in line with what was expected here. 25% GAAP gross margin, adjusted EBITDA, $3.8 billion, and adjusted EBITDA margin, 22.4. So really, I mean, not terrible. Like we're talking kind of quarter three numbers ish last year. I mean, we definitely Tesla definitely beat on adjusted EBITDA compared to quarter three of last year. But yeah, this is this is not ugly at all. So non-GAAP EPS of $2.27, GAAP EPS of $1.95. That's quite good. So we're moving up after hours, by the way, on this news. Got to fit this in. There we go. Okay, we're moving up after hours. Good. I mean, from what was supposed to be a write-off quarter, this is not a write-off quarter at all. Okay, so the revenue increased because of growth in vehicle deliveries. By the way, hit subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button as well. Much love. Increased growth in vehicle deliveries, increased ASP. We talked about this just before closing. I'm going to zoom in here for all the people trying to see my screen. Increased growth in other parts of the business. Profitability was increased by increased average selling price, growth in vehicles, profit growth in other businesses, lower stock-based comp expense for this year, higher raw material affected on the downside, commodity, logistics, expedited cost, higher fixed cost per unit in Shanghai due to shutdowns. Makes sense. And negative foreign exchange impacts and the Bitcoin impairment. This is great. Okay. Okay, let's zoom in. I want to read about Berlin and Austin, if you don't mind here. Berlin, thanks to our strong production rate improvement towards the end of the quarter two, our team in Germany produced more than 1,000 Model Ys in a single week using 2170 cells. We expect the production rate to continue improving through the rest of the year. Autopilot and FSD. At the end of quarter two 2022, over 100,000 drivers in North America had access to FSD beta. Cumulative miles driven by our customers using city streets supervised autonomy continue to grow at an unprecedented scale. Fleet data is an important part of improving and expanding the system. We recently relaunched enhanced autopilot option in North America for those customers who are only interested in highway autonomy. This is great. Vehicle software. Vehicles with it's okay, whatever, folks. I'm going to try to get to the juicy stuff. Hope you don't mind. I'm skipping over some stuff like solar for now. What else does it say? Pace of innovation. The product pace ramps in Austin and Berlin will be influenced by the successful introduction of, I can zoom in here, of many new product and manufacturing technologies in new locations and ongoing supply chain related challenges. Factory ramps take time, and Giga Austin, Giga Berlin will be no different. We are making progress on the industrialization of the Cybertruck, which is currently planned for Austin production subsequent to the Model Y ramp. Okay. Update my price ticker. Yes. There we go. So you got the after hours price underneath it. Okay. CNBC already saying Tesla misses revenue. They're saying the estimate was 17.1 billion. Okay. I mean, look at the bottom line, in this quarter. Let's see what people are saying on Twitter. Let's see here. As I try to find that, I'm going to pull up Webull here. Tesla trading up at, 4.2% up after hours. This is kind of unexpected, actually. I'm going to pull up the shareholder deck. I've got this new feature on my stream as well, where I can actually pull this up. Hold on one sec. What is automotive gross margin? 27.9%. 27.9% auto gross margins. EBITDA, what was the EBITDA percentage? Adjusted EBITDA margin was 22.4%. 22.4% adjusted EBITDA as well. Okay. Tesla reports. And what was their EPS versus estimates here? Let me just pull this up. This is great. Yeah, CNBC is reporting. Yeah, here, I'll pull it up. Here.
Well, especially the bulls were hanging their hat on. They were saying, look, you're never going to see margins like this out of GM and Ford or Volkswagen. They're down closer to 12 to 15%. But now they have been compressed. They're coming in at 26.2% for the second quarter. And again, we knew they would be compressed, and that's where they're at. Scott?
You know, Phil, it's interesting. I mean, it's sort of the conundrum that, if you will, if you want to use that word, that Musk puts you in sometimes as an investor. You want to be optimistic about where this company is heading if you're a bull. But then you go back to a statement which he made just a few months ago where he was, quote, super bad. He had a super bad feeling about the economy. You don't even know whether he's going to be on the call this evening to expand on how he sees the environment today relative to what he was thinking not that long ago.
Yep. Right. And remember what else he said about the 2 gigafactories that they've just started, both in Texas and in Germany. He called them furnaces burning money. And that was one of the first times that you saw Tesla investors say, whoa, hold on a second. What can we expect for the rest of 2022? Now, the expectation, I should point out, is that they are going to be increasing their production in the second half of this year. In fact, the delivery estimate on Wall Street remains at over 1.4 million vehicles. That's quite an increase from where they are in the first half, where they only, I think they delivered 559,000. So they're going to have to deliver close to 900,000 vehicles if they are going to make that estimate for the second half of this year. Scott?
Got you. Phil, I expect that we'll see you again in a short period of time once you get more of those details out of that earnings report. So I'll see you in just a moment. I'll let you run, get back on the phone, do whatever reporting you need to do. Wrap it up for me here. Just the importance of a report like this, the move in the stock, minimal, but at least it's green if you're bullish.
Listen, we'll have to see what the guidance is for a company like this, but I can tell you,
we know what the guidance
is. We do a lot of work at Trivard on revenue beats and misses and earnings beats and misses. You know what you don't want typically? You don't want beating on revenue and missing on margins. The market usually punishes that.
They missed on revs.
Well, you don't want that. And so this quick
Oh my God.
reaction you get, who knows if it's like an algorithm on the earnings, and we'll see what happens in the guidance. But normally for large baskets of stocks, this is the worst combination. Missing on down the line. They're missed on margins, right? They missed on gross margins. Usually you don't like that for hyper-growth stocks. So we'll have to see what happens.
Unless you chalk that up to it's a moment in time miss, given some extraneous factors that have been that all companies have been dealing with, supply chain and everything,
right.
Wages.
But you study like 3 days past earnings reports, and you go through a large basket over time. The worst cocktail is this. Okay. So I will see what happens, but I would guess this fades.
Love having you here as always, Adam Parker.
Look, I mean,
thank you. I'll see you again soon.
This is the way I look at it.
Las Vegas Sands earnings are out too.
Forget about Las Vegas Sands. Okay, this is what I look at it. So they're saying, by the way, the after hours move, I couldn't care less for too much. 4% up, 4% down. It is what it is. It's pretty much kind of a nothing burger at the moment, up 2.2%. The real move after hours is going to happen when management actually talks, right? For now, it is what it is. It's not like a 10% move that we're seeing. But if you're saying, if the argument is, look, Tesla missed on revenue, but then you're looking at gap estimates, by the way, let me actually pull this up here. But you're looking at estimates, and you're saying Tesla beat on EPS, but isn't that even more impressive? If you beat on EPS, but you miss on revenue, I think that's even more impressive. The fact that you beat on EPS so handsomely, but you missed on revenue speaks to how amazing the quarter was, or how you saved the quarter. Which, by the way, I'm seeing some comments here that Tesla actually sold some Bitcoin, or apparently sold something. Look at that. Yes, they did. Good catch, folks, right here. So cash. Let me see here. Gonzalo, thank you for the super chat, my friend. No matter what happens.
What happens tomorrow,
is it going to talk?
The future is incredibly bright and green. Smiley face. Thanks for doing this earnings live stream.
Thank you, my friend. Hopefully you guys heard that. No matter what happens tomorrow, will be bright and future will green. Thanks for doing the earnings live stream. Appreciate you. Thank you. So check this out. As of the end of the quarter, we have converted approximately 75% of our Bitcoin purchases into fiat currency. Conversions in quarter two added $936 million of cash into our balance sheet. Okay, so we're going to need someone smarter than I to actually do the calculation based on what cost basis they sold at. Interesting. Bitcoin dropped, Marcus says Bitcoin is dropping 2% on the news. Not surprised. Okay, so Tesla is now left with very little Bitcoin at the moment. And by the way, when Tesla bought Bitcoin, people forget they sold a small percentage of their Bitcoin. I forget what percent it was, maybe 10% or something, at a profit. They booked that profit, essentially lowering their cost basis. And now they've sold 75% of that. So very little Bitcoin left. Interesting. We're going to have to need like a Rob Maurer to do the calculations based on what it is. By the way, hopefully you guys like my got my little ticker there. Tesla reports to. Oh, I put a little, I put a number sign. There we go. Okay, awesome. So they have 300 million Bitcoin out. I mean, maybe a little bit less than that even, actually. But I mean, we'll see. After hours, Tesla is it's trying to find some balance, but it's still green after hours. So you can't really complain with that. Wasn't really expecting much. Interesting. Look, there's no way to slice this than saying it's kind of a weird look for Tesla to buy Bitcoin, say that they're diamond handsing it, say that they're buying it for the long term, and then selling it, especially when they don't need the cash. Like, it just kind of feels like I don't know. It just kind of feels like kind of a paper hand move, almost like why didn't we think this through before we bought it kind of move. So if you want to talk about, some people throwing out kind of amateur hour on that aspect, I think there's an argument to be made on that. To buy that much of Bitcoin, say you're diamond handing it no matter what, publicly, selling some at profit, which I have no problem doing, and then selling almost all of it, like, I don't know. Buy Bitcoin, good move. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people in the Teslaverse did not like the Bitcoin move. I wonder what fiat these used. USD, definitely. Yeah, I mean, good quarter. Good quarter. Supercharger stations, by the way, are up massively. Supercharger stations are up 34% year over year to 36,165. It's amazing. I'm seeing it locally here as well. Like the amount of supercharging stations everywhere is just nuts. So this is the current, by the way, installed capacity. Out of Fremont, Tesla is saying that they have about 650,000 production capacity at the moment. Shanghai, greater than 750,000. Let me zoom in here a little bit more. Berlin, right now, greater than 250,000. Well, not right now, but I guess eventually. Well, they do say current. Installed capacity does not equal current production rate, and there may be limitations discovered as production rates approach capacity. Production rates depend on a variety of factors, including equipment uptime, component, downtime related to factory upgrades, regulatory considerations, and other factors. Okay, but as it stands right now, Berlin is projected to be greater than 250,000 and greater than 250,000 for Texas as well. It's funny. I mean, we're not going to get more info than that from Tesla. So you guys are liking the move. Hey, throw in the chat. Do you guys like Tesla dumping 75% of their Bitcoin? Yes or no? Throw in the chat. I am honestly indifferent to the move. I just think it looks bad that you say that you're going to diamond hand something and then you sell it. But to the move itself, I don't necessarily care. What do you guys think? You guys like the move? Yes, yes, yes. Wow. Wow. Not very many Bitcoin maxis in here. Wow. Almost everyone is saying yes. Chat, you guys are saying yes to that. Wow. I'm actually quite surprised. I thought we were going to get a handful of big. Oh, okay. Someone's saying very disappointed. Glad they sold it. Screw crypto. Interesting. Dan Ives is coming on CNBC. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Harry. I have it ready to go. Interesting. Gonzalo says I support Bitcoin, but support them dumping it as well. Thank you for the super chat. Let me just see here. Hopefully the alerts pop up. Do you guys hear those alerts? Hopefully you do. Thank you for the super chat, Alan. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. Oh, I owe Gonzalo a slice of juju as well. And so, and you too, Alan. Ooh, after my coffee, that didn't taste so good. Okay, CNBC is going to have Dan Ives on, apparently. This one's for Alan. Thank you for the super chat again. CNBC's on commercial break right now. They're all getting their coffees. They're grabbing their juju. They're waiting. You know, sometimes I wish I had a job in TV because it'd be so much easier to have commercial breaks. When we stream, we're going on for hours and hours and hours. I mean, once in a while, I'll take like a bathroom break. But, I mean, you guys know, not usual that happens. Like on TV, every like 4 minutes, like they get like a 4-minute commercial break. It's just luxury. Okay, so what else is in this? Here's some photos that we can go through. Okay, 2 million cars, the 2 millionth car produced at Fremont. Some more Berlin photos. Love the paint shop. Giga Texas, working on the solar panels there. What time is call? Check the top right corner. We have an hour and 8 minutes left until the call happens. Gary says Gary Black must be dancing. Yeah, Gary Black must be really happy about this Bitcoin news. I'm very surprised, to be honest, that everyone is very excited about the Bitcoin dumping news. Very surprised about that. The shareholder meeting. Hey, is anyone going to the shareholders meeting in August, August 4th? Anyone going? Throw in the chat if you are. By the way, we've got to look at options order flow for Tesla at the close. Here it is. Call sweeps, 700 strike, 810 strike, 810 strike. Let's do short expiration only. And let's check out what happened towards the end of the day. 800 strike, 800 strike. Calls being sold, a lot of calls. 810, 810. It looks like a lot of big money coming in the last 5 minutes. But I think a lot of these are spreads as well, because you'll see stuff on the bid, below the bid, and then stuff at the ask at the same strike. So tough to say. It's not one clear indication as to where it's going. So, okay, so after hours, Tesla is sitting at $760, 2.5% up after hours. Oh yeah, Dan is on. Let's check it out.
Faster for Tesla given the zero COVID shutdowns. Will they reiterate 50%? That's showing bullishness second half, 900,000 plus. And I would just call it less bad than feared, and that's why you're seeing the reaction.
Well, that seems to be the case in a lot of stocks that are reporting earnings. Gross margins, though, from 33% in Q1 to 26.2 after some stuff is figured out there. You're not concerned at all about a gross margin number that's declining?
Yeah, it's concerning if it continues. If you go into 3Q and 4Q and you see that trend line, then it becomes a concern. Because of 2Q, I'll say they got a little bit of a pass because of what you're seeing on the zero COVID situation in China.
They have to get
as
a
well
pass.
as some of the build-outs of Giga Berlin and some of the other areas, of course, Austin. And I think that's why investors are sort of looking through this. What's the second half telling us? But that's why this will be probably one of the more important conference calls from Musk in years.
And what if he's not on it? What does that say? Because there are suggestions from Phil that he doesn't know if he's going to be on it or not. What if he isn't?
Look, I think Musk not on it would be a negative, just given where we are in terms of the cycle, in terms of what we're seeing in China. Still a lot of skepticism in terms of what Tesla's seeing. So I think this is probably, if there was a call for him to be on, it's tonight, in terms of especially everything we're seeing on EVs. And also, do you believe the second half? Because it comes down to, that's going to be that's what the street's going to be focused on, bulls and bears.
How much visibility, though, could they possibly have into a second half where the cash burn on these new factories is going to continue? It's not like supply chains or inflation are going to go away overnight that are going to help material costs. And by the way,
Green tidal wave.
What the stock is doing right now is hardly a resounding, let's get the the pom-poms out and start the cheers. I mean, okay, 2.5% move on a stock that's gotten hit pretty well.
It's an Everest-like climb from here to get to where we need to get to for second half. So they really need to prove that. And it's not just the demand story, it's production. Because if you look at China, that's the hearts and lungs of the Tesla story. So it comes down to the elephant in the room, the fear is, what happens if April and May, the shutdown, happens again?
Hold your thought for a second. Phil LeBeau has more for me, I'm told. Phil?
Scott, one of the things that's getting a lot of attention after hours is that Tesla reaping the benefits of selling some of its Bitcoin position. In fact, it sold 75% of its Bitcoin purchases. $936 million is what that brought the company. Those sales, that sale of Bitcoin for the company brought in $936 million. They have converted that into other currencies. So that is one reason why you're seeing some movement in the stock after hours, as Tesla realizing it had to reduce that position substantially. So selling 75% of its Bitcoin purchases, bringing in $936 million, which it then converted into holdings of other currencies. Scott?
Yeah, watching the move, and I know you can't see it in real time, Phil, in Bitcoin too. Taking a pretty good tumble here, perhaps on this news. Phil, thank you. See you again soon. You have any comment on this Bitcoin sale?
I think it was a head scratcher from the beginning. Musk throwing in the towel. You start thinking about the overhangs on the Tesla story. This obviously was one in terms of potentially what the write down would be. And I think just given everything else they're seeing in terms of the challenges, it's one less you could ultimately check the box. And clearly now second half, it's all about unit production and growth rather than Bitcoin, which has really been a sideshow. That we've
so
seen
many sideshows.
Last one before I got to move on from the Tesla story. You got a $1,000 price target? So let me ask you this: you've talked a lot about the overhang from Twitter. You've used the word embarrassment, sideshow. All these negative comments about Musk's episode here with Twitter. What happens if there's an unfavorable ruling in the court where he can walk, but he's not going to pay $1 billion? What if he's going to pay $5 billion or $10 billion? And in order to come up with that money, he needs to sell more Tesla stock.
Yeah, and I think,
is there any risk there at all?
I think, of course, there's risk. And I think you've started to see now factor into Twitter stock that he's probably going to have to pay at a minimum $5 or $10 billion, or ultimately, he could ultimately buy the whole company in terms of what happens in Delaware. And that will continue to be an overhang in terms of Musk selling stock, as that's really been over the last few years. Constant sort of needle in terms of the bulls as you've seen that play out.
But I mean, maybe more acute today than it has been in the past. But before, you've sort of never known when he was going to sell. Now you're going to have to game it out again after he sold the last time, and wonder as an investor, is that going to happen again?
And that continues to be what I view as the almost non-fundamental overhang in the stock, because you look at numbers, but ultimately the fear on the street continues to be that Twitter fiasco soap opera that now, at least in round one, Twitter won resoundingly.
Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for being
here. Dan Ives and Wedbush joining us here at Post 9. Let's do our Twitter. Speaking of, question of...
Shout out Dan, friend of the show. 740, what is it? 756. So in after hours. Again, kind of a nothing burgers after hour. Don't really consider this to be too grim. We're up 2%. The real move, if we get one, would happen once the call starts in about an hour and 1 minute and 41 seconds, as per my timer up there. Tyler, how's it going? One of our mods. Long time no see. What's interesting is everything was against Tesla this quarter. Supply chains, shutdowns, factory ramps, kind of Bitcoin. The whole Bitcoin thing, by the way, I guess the reasoning, maybe we'll hear about this on the earnings call. So what it sounds like is they wanted to sell their Bitcoin to diversify into fiats across different nations as the US dollar kept getting stronger. So maybe it was just an argument kind of laid out there. Look, if USD keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger, we're going to keep losing money on foreign exchange. And so maybe diversifying into that made sense. Who knows? But yeah, the whole Bitcoin look doesn't look good when, just a year or so ago, everyone's saying diamond hands Bitcoin. And now, by the way, I was looking at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin's down to $23,000 as we sit here live right now. Pretty much all crypto is down though. So take that with a grain of salt. So it doesn't look like a great look, to be honest. If you look at the tech after hours actually red a little bit. Down about 25 basis points, 16 basis points. So, can't say really Tesla's bucking the trend, but only 1.5% up after hours. How much ZEV credits this quarter? I think 366-ish million or something like that, give or take. I could pull it up here. It was actually a substantial coming down from last quarter. Their ZEV credits that I saw. So yeah, ZEV credits didn't really play a huge part this quarter. Where are they? Regulatory credits, 344 million. So, yeah. What else stands out really from this? 25%. Okay, so look at it this way. The GAAP gross margin, which, I think EBITDA is probably a better attribute to look, or a better margin number to look at. 22.4% in a quarter where Shanghai was literally shut down. 2 new factories scaling up. And still above 20% EBITDA margin. Right? Just imagine I'll say quarter 4, when Berlin and Austin are at a substantial scale, where the mix of 4680s is greater, and there's no Shanghai shutdowns, which, by the way, cross my fingers. No one wants to see more shutdowns happen across anywhere. But yeah, it's just very resilient. I think that's the best way to look at Tesla's margins. And of course, the price increases that have happened in the cars as well plays a part of this as well. But yeah, revenue up 42%. Yeah, revenue up 43% year over year. Automotive revenues, total revenues up 42%. So yeah, this quarter was not about beating expectations massively. It was really about just managing the quarter, and they've shown that they did more than just manage this quarter. So. All right. Daryl, thank you for the super chat. Proceeds from sales of digital assets, 936. Guess we can see how much they got their Bitcoin. Well, so what makes this calculation a little bit hard, by the way, thank you for the super chat, my friend. What makes this calculation a little bit difficult is that
Proceeds from sales of digital assets, 936. Guess we can see how much they got for their Bitcoin.
Is that they sold some of their Bitcoin when it was profitable. I think 10%. So I think that's only what makes that. And I'm just gonna wait for someone else to do the calculations of what their Bitcoin total loss is. I was just gonna say, I want to hear from Dave. What does he think on the quarter? He just tweeted 7 seconds ago. Shout out to you, Dave. Impressive quarter by Tesla, reporting $2.6 billion in non-GAAP profit. Zach and Elon sold about 75% of Bitcoin to avoid a major impairment loss. Smart move. Overall, actually, that's pretty ironic if you think about it for a hot second. them selling the Bitcoin led to the price of Bitcoin falling, which would have led to the impairment loss. It's kind of ironic that way. Smart move. Overall results better than expected. I'm guessing he's going to have a Twitter thread here coming up. After hours, Tesla's still resilient, still green. I'll be kind of a nothing burger after hours segment here. And of course, we got Tesla earnings call pulled up here. I'm going to fill this out. And then we have an hour left till Tesla earnings call. Throw your questions in the chat if you have any. All right. Just going to make sure I mute the earnings call. You guys remember last quarter or a couple quarters ago? Actually, this was last year. When I got copyright striked because of the waiting music that Tesla was playing. Or maybe it was Apple. Forget. Oh, man. I mean, Bitcoin could very well go down, but I think Bitcoin has a pretty good base where it's sitting at the moment. Like 20,000, I think is pretty strong on Bitcoin. United EPS misses. United is down 1% after hours. Nothing much happening there. I think Elon's going to be on, to be honest, on the call. I do. I think Elon will be on this call. For the same reasons that Dan Ives kind of mentioned. When the quarter has a bunch of questions about what's happening, it makes sense for your CEO to be on the call. Let's see here. This new tweet, by the way, from Tesla. Oh, let me pull this up. We ended the quarter with the highest vehicle production month in our history for June. It's really all that matters when you talk about scaling. And they did it just jumping back in from being offline for so long. So I think you'll be on. Yeah. PowerPoint says they sold 75% of the remaining 90% after the first. So exactly. So that's what makes it a little bit confusing with their cost basis, because I think their cost basis originally was like 25. Someone did the math, and it was between 23 and 27,000 on Bitcoin, but they sold some at a profit. And so lowering their cost basis, not entirely sure what they would have sold at. I'm just going to call it break even. Let's just say they broke even on the purchase. Because I think originally Tesla invested like 1.1 billion. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Was it like one? It was over $1 billion that they invested in Bitcoin, right? Originally when they bought Bitcoin out of fiat. So if they just sold 75% and they netted 936 million, it's pretty close to break even. So, but to be honest, let's don't really need to get into too much of the Bitcoin stuff anyways. 14.6% operating margin in quarter two, 2.5% gap operating income. Man, if this is what Tesla is doing during a crap quarter, just wait until quarter four. It's going to be massive. This quarter four, super excited for it. In quarter three, I know I'm kind of unfairly glossing over a little bit, but I'm just adding in other shenanigans that may happen in quarter three. By the way, we also have FOMC. The Fed meets 26th and 27th of July. 1.5 billion, says Paco. Is that right? Okay. Well, in that case, it might be a little bit of a loss there. Someone's saying it's a profit, actually. It's 1.5. Interesting. I'm just going to wait for someone to tweet it out. Then do the math. Steven says, is there a Nothing Burger shirt? That's a great idea. No, I don't have a Nothing Burger shirt. How would I see? That's the problem. And that's a great idea, Steven. I appreciate that. As much as I love all these ideas, I'm not a good graphic designer, so I don't even know what I'd put, like how I'd design it. If it just says Nothing Burger, I think that'd kind of be boring. I'd have to have some sort of hit that bit or Tesla like side to it. But that's a great idea. If anyone has any idea, let me know. Sorry, what's going on in quarter four? Well, quarter four is just going to be everything back at scale at ramp. Like quarter three, like Shanghai, for example, record quarter. Berlin and Austin still getting to that scale. It's just, I'm talking quarter four because quarter fours are already very elevated for consumer demand. Everything gets pushed into the end of year, but I'm just excited to see what EPS number we look at towards quarter four this year, because I think it'll be massive. Like this quarter, $2, whatever we got, $2.17 or whatever it was, $2.27 EPS that we had for this quarter. This will be the lowest quarter for Tesla, barring a force majeure or something like that, with lockdowns again. Like this will be the lowest quarter in the foreseeable future. Joe says, have a burger with no meat inside, a nothing burger. Maybe like just 2 buns. 2 buns in space? Okay, yeah. Rob says Tesla sold Bitcoin at 30K like a stop loss. Oh, interesting. Okay. A pattyless bun? Nothing burger. Interesting. Any graphic designers out there that could help me out with that? I'm happy to throw it onto the website. You guys know, oh, by the way, shameless plug. I already said this, but if you want to buy any merch, want to buy the hoodie that I'm repping with the Juju on it, nicejuju.com. I gotta get my bucket hat. You gotta use coupon code Juju when you're using this, by the way. And this is Canadian dollars, so don't mind that. Oliver says $225 million of Bitcoin left on the balance sheet at the original price. Ah, okay. Okay, so actually Tesla fared pretty well with the Bitcoin stuff. Elon just killed Bitcoin. Okay, Tesla's turned red, by the way, we talk about after hours trading, nothing much. I mean, we're down 60 basis points. Just like when we were up 3%, kind of a nothing burger. Down 60 basis points, 50 basis points, it is what it is. Chris says, my puts are going to print tomorrow. I don't know. Like depending on what you bought them for, of course. The amount of theta and volatility decay out of, let's say, weeklies that will come out. If you look at the options, actually, we haven't looked at options today. If you look at, let's say you looked at even the 650 strike, those are $2 for this week for buying 2 days worth of premium, like $2 to buy $100 away out the money. Still pretty expensive. So, it's going to be tough. Hope I didn't mess up my whole Tesla ticker there. Okay, there we go. What's the semi doing? Yeah, I mean, I don't think we know. But you know what? We were supposed to get PepsiCo to take delivery of some semis. I can't sit here and say that I know that they did. But yeah. My ticker seems stuck. My ticker is not stuck, but you have to look at the after hours, which is underneath the ticker right over here. That's the after hours. Yeah, we're down 30. We're pretty much flat on the day. Flat after hours. It's kind of a nothing burger event at the moment. We have 46 minutes until Tesla earnings call. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Like the chat or like the video. How many likes? Oh, we're only 85 likes away from 500. If you're enjoying the stream, if you're getting any sort of entertainment out of this, which I know presumably might be hard, but if you are, consider hitting like, hitting subscribe. I've got my subscriber notifications pulled up. I'll read some names here. Badrak, Z Ghosh, appreciate you. Michael, Fasto the Great, Ray, Staminena, great name. Man Learnant, appreciate you guys all subscribing. Thank you. The daily subs at the top, that doesn't update too well, but the later subscriber does. A new record for the like. I think our record stands like at 1.1K for likes. That might be tough, but potentially possible. Thank you, Jenna. Okay, let's find some news here, shall we? PowerPoint, thank you. Becoming a member. Welcome to the GG gang, my friend. Let's pull up some tweets here. What do we got in terms of news coming in here? Okay, let's see what Gene Munster has to say on the Tesla quarter. So Gene says, mixed bag on the Tesla results. The automotive gross margin ex ZEV credits of 26.2% was below the street, or at just over 20, which was just at over 28%. This was despite ASPs increasing by 5%. The question is, how much of those additional costs are temporary? Gene says, I believe that most of these costs, foreign exchange costs, remember US dollar appreciating quite a bit this quarter, Shanghai shutdown, ramp of Austin, Berlin will work themselves out. Good news is that Tesla reiterated 50% long-term growth rate, which I don't think they're going to really shy away from at all. To hit street numbers, deliveries need to increase from 565,000 in the first half this year to about 835,000 in the back half. And then I'm guessing he's going to have another thread here coming up. 835, so let's actually pull up my calculator here for a second. So 835 per quarter, we're looking at 417.5 thousand cars per month, approximately 140,000, evened out. Of course, quarter four will be heavily weighted for a lot of those deliveries, especially the last month, December. But Tesla needs to average about 140,000 cars per month globally for that. Let's see here, and we'll pull up as Elon comes out. Who is calling me? The amount of spam calls I get. Eaterhim says, I'll unsubscribe and resubscribe so you get a good feel about it, my friend. Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay. Remember, it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. How long is the call? The Tesla call will be about an hour at most, 45 minutes to an hour. I'll be live for it throughout. I might take a quick pre-break before or during. We'll see. We'll see. What else is happening here? Yes, we went over Sawyer's updated this or screenshot of this chart. We've updated this as well. Great chart to look at. We've gone through this on the stream. Let's see here. What's Kevin saying? Meet Kevin saying, clarifying, yes, Tesla did dump 75% of their Bitcoin, but not to prevent negative cash flow. Both cash flow and free cash flow, operating expenses less CapEx would be positive. However, they would have had a negative change in their cash position had it not been for the Bitcoin sale. I don't think that matters too much. I'm pretty sure if you look at last quarter's shareholder deck, right here, their net cash changed. Let's see here. What was it? Well, hold on one sec. So $2.3 billion net cash increase on their statement of cash flows. Last quarter, it was almost $4 billion. I don't know what he's talking about here. Where is he talking about this? Whatever. Doesn't really matter. I'm no accountant. People tagging me and stuff. John, DALL-E failed me. It generated pics of delicious looking burgers. Okay, so you put in a nothing burger. And by the way, thank you for doing this. Yeah, that's not a nothing burger. A nothing burger's got to have nothing in it. Duh. Thank you for trying, though. This reminds me of, man, who was it? I forget. It was one of our Swedish friends of the channel who DM'd me with a bunch of stuff to put on put on shirts. It was hilarious. Maybe let me try to find it actually here. I never actually put it on the shirt, but I probably should. It was Prime. Let's see here. With this stuff. A merch idea. Yeah, she's sitting on Tesla. This is by the way, I don't know where you found this. Prime, if you're listening, I don't know how you did this. Great stuff. I love it. But I feel like a little bit self-absorbed if I sold something with my face on it. I don't know. I don't know. But I do love that. All right. So after hours, 34 basis points up on the day. Let's see here. Oh, okay, thank you, Digital. Oh, Digital is okay. Got it. Thank you, Digital. The car should be in red. Yeah, unfortunately, my car is not red. I've got the black. I wanted to do matte black on the car. That didn't get approved by shareholders of the house. So, all right. Let's see here. All right, let's check out what Troy said. Troy says non-GAAP EPS was even higher than I estimated, but automotive gross margin excluding ZEV credits was a big miss on my part. So I clearly missed something in my gross margin calculations. Actually, someone said this in the chat. So this is Troy's error rate. So this quarter 2, 2022, Troy was off by 9 cents. Amazing stuff. And he was off by 50 cents on his, or consensus was off by 50 cents. So Troy did amazing. And in his quarter by gross margin, he expected to be 31%. It's actually 26.2. So he's off about 5%. So 5% of 26.2 is not 5%, of course, but still, it's still valuable having people like Troy in the community. Elon should give a dividend. Okay, so this is actually a pretty good topic we can talk about with buybacks, dividends. Let me know in the chat what your thoughts are on Tesla buybacks or Tesla dividends. For me, I don't think dividends make sense for Tesla. Dividends make sense for companies on the latter half of their growth trajectory. Stocks like Apple. I mean, I get it. Apple started giving dividends like 2013 or something like that. But really, buybacks, I do consider there to be an argument for Tesla buybacks. Not this quarter per se, but especially quarter 4 and into next year. The balance sheet is strong. Free cash flow is strong. CapEx is not that high. Even when you consider Tesla reinvesting money, Tesla is printing more than enough money to do buybacks, in my opinion. So dividends, different story. I don't think it makes sense to return that to investors just yet. To do buybacks like Apple has for years, I think makes sense. And also, we're gonna get an Apple like split for Tesla anyways, moving into August, September of this year. So take that with a grain of salt. But essentially, Tesla is looking to follow Apple's trajectory almost there, hopefully, with every 2 or 3 years splitting by 3, 4, 5, buying back, issuing dividends. I think it makes sense. Maybe it says use the money for more investments. The rest could be buybacks. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the argument, right? People have against buybacks is okay. Well, Tesla should just keep investing. Well, they are. And even when you consider Tesla CapEx and you say, okay, Tesla to build a new factory costs between $5 and $10 billion, Tesla can keep doing that with the free cash flow that they have and still have a lot of money left over. And they will towards the end of this year, especially. So that argument I don't buy, that Tesla doesn't have. And again, this quarter is a little bit of an anomaly with the shutdowns and whatnot. But especially when you look at the end of this year, Tesla will have more than enough money to do buybacks. Dividends, different story. I don't think Tesla needs to return it to retail investors just yet. It's kind of a proxy. It's kind of a pseudo returning to investors by buying back anyways, right? Through appreciation of the stock price. What do you guys think? Let's see here. Too early, Boyle says for both. JR, that's a good idea. Boyle says if they wanted to do a buyback, to do by only Tesla, if Tesla dipped below 600, they could use the excuse of using the Bitcoin sale proceeds to do it. Maybe, yeah. Rather than dividends, than buybacks, we got traumatized from Nokia. Okay. Well, I mean, Apple does it. Buyback to counter Elon dilution, increase value of stocks and save retailers. Yeah, I think when Tesla was raising a lot of money back when the stock was going vertical, I think it would make sense to do buybacks now. The stock has taken a hit. Too early, Jenna says for dividends. Yep, makes sense. Marcus says, give me a dividend and I'll buy more Tesla. Yeah. Alan says your views on divvies and buybacks are spot on at this stage. Maybe in 3 or 4 years my mind changes, but well, maybe 3 or 4 years is too premature even, but towards the latter half of the growth stage. But yeah, it's so early for Tesla. DJ says this will be one of the investor questions. You made the right economic call before most on inflation when you diversified into Bitcoin. Yeah, and then we get the news that they sold Bitcoin. Digital says when Tesla starts offering dividends, it may be time to sell. I think a lot of investors think like that. Sun says the splits are dividends, in my opinion. A little bit different, right? Well, dividends, perhaps, but buybacks. The reason why I like buybacks is offsetting stock-based comp, and that actually reduces the float over time substantially. If you just buy back enough to offset stock-based comp, I'm pretty happy. And again, we've had a lot of stock-based comp in the last couple of years, which I don't think is going to continue to be the case forever, especially with Elon's comp being gone. Actually, that should have been one of the questions on Say Technologies. Is Elon, or was that a question last quarter? Someone tell me if I'm forgetting. When are we going to hear about Elon's new compensation package? I want to make sure that Elon has something to work towards. Not that he needs more money, but incentives are what runs the world. Like, and I get it, Elon is a huge shareholder in Tesla, but you can make a huge argument that the reason why Tesla did so well in the last couple of years was in part because of the compensation package that Elon had. If you sold Apple, in 2013 was not smart. Yeah, I think, and by the way, we're sitting up 87 basis points here after hours. Kind of a nothing burger so far. Abe, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Thanks for all you do. I appreciate that. Thanks for watching. Again, I always kind of have this like cheesy gratitude section, but all Patreon members, channel members, subscribers, people watching here, you guys could be anywhere on any stream, but you guys plan to stay on with me for God knows how long, 3 or 4 hours, and just hang out, talk Tesla, shoot the breeze. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate you guys. What software is this? This is the Webull software. You can download it. It's free. Look, I love Apple. I'm an Apple fanboy, but Apple is just different. Apple is a different stage of their like if Apple was a human, Apple would be on, I'm not even going to give an age. It's going to be more ageist. Apple is in the 7th-ish, 8th, 9th inning of kind of its growth story. But Apple is trying to see if they can play another game. Like Apple is trying to get into VR and to maybe the metaverse and like, all these different things that they're trying to restart the game a little bit. But as it stands right now, Apple is kind of an old boy when it comes to growth. Alan says investing in dividend shares creates bubbles at every stock date. Generally, the share pops and drops immediately after X date. Thanks for the great chat. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about that part, to be honest. Like X dividend date, yes, every investor knows that they can buy X dividend date, get the dividend, exit. But I'm not too worried about that. That's kind of short-term fluctuations on that. I think the problem with dividends is you're starting taking cash out of a company that has shown that it can invest money and create way more money internally by investing that money in and of itself, and taking that money and then giving it away and saying, we don't need this money. With buybacks, you can reduce the cash position, but you can increase, of course, market cap by doing that. So it's kind of like you're investing in yourself, which is the whole point. Tesla Brumo Mama in the chat. Welcome. I did an awesome interview with her. Go check out her channel as well. Hit subscribe on her channel. Thank you for joining us. Magnus, this is Webull. You can just Google it. You'll find it. Tesla therapy. Look, I'm already used to a lot of FUD. I'm not used to. Well, I think I am. I'm already ready for all the FUD to come out. I'm already ready for all the FUD to come out with the Bitcoin impairment headlines coming out. If they haven't come out already, maybe I'm just oblivious at the moment. I'm ready for it. We'll see. The Twitter stuff. You guys know how I feel about the Twitter news with Elon and whatnot. Thanks for subscribing to Day Trading Vlog. I think it's one big sideshow. I don't care for it at all, to be quite honest, the whole Twitter stuff. I get it. Elon wants to buy Twitter, go for it. Elon sold shares to do it. It's his prerogative. Who am I to say what he can't buy as a free person? And some might even think it's a great move for free speech. That aside, I don't think it has anything to do with Tesla's fundamental growth story, their return on invested capital, and the ability for Tesla to scale on the demand that they have. So at the end of the day, as much as I love, by the way, I know how many more views I could get by making Twitter videos, and this is not me throwing shade on anyone that does this, but I know I could make a ton of videos on the Twitter stuff. And, you know, this and this and this happening and, you know, this person fighting back. I think the only reason I'll bring up Twitter usually is if I see their potential risk to Tesla through Elon potentially having to sell more shares or funding falling through and then Elon being on the hook for it. Like, with that respect, I will. But for the most part, I don't know. It just doesn't interest me, the whole story of Twitter. I've been on Twitter since 2009. I love Twitter. But the fundamental business of Twitter, I don't like. If you want to make it a public utility and run it at a break even, go for it. I just don't think it's the growth story that Tesla is. I think Tesla is the main show, and so my eyes are kind of just pretty much on Tesla. That's why I didn't invest in Twitter when Elon was going to buy it. Glad I didn't. By the way, I told you guys about my dad, right? Like he was like when the Twitter news came out and Twitter kept falling, like he was in Twitter. Like he loves to trade. I think he was buying Netflix yesterday. So he was big on Twitter. I told him, I'm like, I don't know if this Twitter thing is going to happen. And so now I have to ask him about what his thoughts are on Twitter now, but it's kind of a gong show, to be honest. Yeah, exactly. The chaos show, honestly. Yeah. It's a great hobby. Keeps him fresh. Gillis says the main risk with Twitter is Elon having to sell more Tesla shares. So I think the main risk there is it's a little bit more nuanced. It's that if the funding falls through for Elon, right now he has solid funding as per CNBC reporting. Jim Cramer was saying this a couple days ago, that Elon still has hardcore funding, very strong. Should he need to buy Twitter, he can buy it. He can put it in his stake with cash. He doesn't need to worry. But you're right. If the funding falls through, that's when question. And then the lawsuit says like Elon is still on the hook to buy. That's really where we get into that kind of mess. But to be honest, I think we're probably a year or two away from that. Ronnie says, how can we subscribe? Just, I don't know. No one's really asked me that before. Underneath, if you exit out of the live chat, and then you'll see beside hit that bid, a subscribe button. Feel free to hit it. If it says subscribe, consider pressing it. If it says subscribed, do not click on it. 9 a.m. in New Zealand. Wow. Shout out to you guys tuning in. Thailand, 4 a.m. Shout out to you. This is awesome. We love the FUD, says Charlie. Yeah, I think you kind of get hard nosed to it to a degree with the FUD as it happens. So we have 29 minutes left here until Tesla earnings call. Mimi tagged me in something on Chrome. I'm gonna pull this up. Yeah, shoot, it's too late. It's already out there. The Nothing Burger. I think this is great. Maybe if we did like, how could we make this more Tesla specific? I don't know. Great idea. Well, I mean, I could kind of make my own version of this. The Nothing Burger. Can you imagine just rolling around town wearing the Nothing Burger shirt? You know, the other day I was talking to my friend and I used Nothing Burger and he's like, what did you just say? I'm like, Nothing Burger. Like, you know, it doesn't mean anything. And he was like gobsmacked that I used Nothing Burger. And like, I didn't realize how niche of a saying Nothing Burger was. I've been saying it for years. That and Nothing to Sneeze At is another one I like to use. I don't know. I didn't realize how divisive they were. Richard says, meet up at LA Car Show. This chat moves too fast. Hold on one sec. I'm having a hard time scrolling here. Where is it now? Where is Richard's comment? Oh, LA Auto Show with Yash. I'm not going to the LA Auto Show, but if I do visit the States, maybe we'll do some sort of meetup. By the way, if you're Vancouver based and you're part of the Juju gang or just want to be, we're probably going to do a meetup middle of August. I've postponed it from end of July to middle of August. My hip's feeling a little bit better, so I don't want to jinx it. So I'm feeling better there. But yeah, middle of August, we'll do some sort of a dinner meet and greet or a meet up for Tesla bulls like us. Where's my hat? That's a good question. Change the T to the Tesla T? Yeah, I think I can't use the logo, and that makes sense. I don't want to use some sort of copyrighted thing. Where's my hat? That's a good question. I'm going to go with the hat. One second. I'll model this out. I know I'm kind of Juju overdose at the moment, wearing the sweater and the bucket hat. But feel free to get your bucket hat up, and actually I'll pin it up here. There we go. Pin product. Feel free to check it out. Everyone gets their own bill. Alrighty. Tommy says my 6-year-old says nothing burger all the time. Really? Shout out to your 6-year-old. That's a cool cat. Okay. After hours Tesla sitting at 7:47, just kind of a nothing burger after hours session here at the moment. We'll see how that changes as the earnings call happens in about 25 minutes. Let's pull up CNBC.
Labor shortages, all of those are weighing on Tesla. They also sold 75% of their Bitcoin holdings. $936 million is what they gained from selling those holdings. They then put that into other currencies. And then finally, as you take a look at shares of Tesla, keep in mind that the conference call is coming up in a half hour. The question is whether or not Elon Musk will be on that call. What does he have to say about the state of the business? He's had plenty of comments on Twitter in the past, whether it's about the gigafactories or about that he doesn't like the look of the market at this point. So there you have Tesla again. A beat in terms of earning $227 a share, well above what Street was expecting, but revenue falling short of expectations.
Well,
Sarah?
Someone should ask him about that Bitcoin sale, because when he bought Bitcoin back in May 2021, he tweeted, "I'm not going to sell it. We're buying Bitcoin." It looks like I was wrong. Phil, thank you. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Laughed pretty hard there.
CEO Scott Kirby. Let's trade it. Dan, your take.
Listen, like most Tesla quarters here, there's a lot to pick at here. The bulls are going to say they're doing this in a very difficult environment. I'll just take this one comment out. Over a multi-year horizon, we expect to achieve 50% average annual growth in vehicle deliveries. The rate of growth will depend, this is really important, on equipment capacity, factory uptime, operational efficiency, and the capacity and stability of the supply chain. So basically, they have no visibility. I'm just saying, so they just guided to 50%, growth in deliveries, but the near term they have no visibility. And what did we just hear Phil just say? What do they have? Two days worth of cars, where a quarter ago they had 9 days of cars. So to me, I don't know how you can have any confidence in this guidance right now. And also to your point about taking that gain from the sale of Bitcoin, which he said he wasn't going to do, I think that has some cash flow implications. So the quarter,
they would be cash flow negative, right? Otherwise,
correct. So it's just like looks like a little funky stuff.
But that kind of guidance is similar to also him saying we expect to have a record-breaking second half. What does that mean? I mean, it could mean on production, it could mean on deliveries, it could be you get the margins back to levels. But back to those margins, it really depends on where you were sitting coming into this number. Because while 30% last quarter, 28.2 expected, 26x credits, but I know a lot of analysts had already downgraded the margin coming into this. I actually think there's going to be a sort through this. I think there's a pass, and some of the Shanghai difficulties, if you look at where they would have been, and again, 27% deliveries in June, if not for Shanghai, would have been back up to 67%. So, I mean, I think this is the story. People have to decide whether you're ready to write off Shanghai. I think the biggest story that Tesla can lean back on is Berlin and Austin. And that's really going to give you, the ramp. And that's really going to be the wild card for what 22 looks like by the end of the year. And right now they're telling you everything you want to hear on that.
Do you give Elon and Tesla a pass for the Shanghai shutdowns?
Well, I think
The whole
ultimately it's
city
going to be a
was shut down.
short-term issue, right? And I think a lot of this, like the supply chain issues, what's happening in China, that's something the entire industry is facing. It's not just them. And I think what you want to look at is if they're going to get through this over the long term, yes, it could be something to look at. But ultimately, I still look at Tesla and I have a hard time with it just because it's valued so much higher than, say, like your Ford or your GMs, right? And it's just that at the end of the day, I don't know how much upside there's going to be compared to that valuation. So yes, I think some of these things I'm not as concerned about hearing, but I'm still not a long-term buyer.
Though that has always been the story with Tesla.
That's
You
true.
would have
That's
missed
fair.
out on a lot of profits. But nobody owns it, right?
No,
correct.
you're not.
What do you make of the quarter?
I think, it was kind of a noisy
Oh, my
quarter,
goodness.
as every company in this business is a noisy quarter. Supply chain issues, the China
FX.
issues, right? FX, the Bitcoin thing, which is really a sideshow, but I don't know if
They're still my
Tesla
sayings now.
shareholders
Sideshow,
ever get,
nothing
sort of
burger.
frustrated with his sideshows. I don't know. Maybe they don't.
Maybe they watch the
clearly
channel.
it's an amazing company that he's built. However, the valuation to me is just way too high to get comfortable with it. I wouldn't short it either because of its, cult-like status, but I have no position.
I think the other question, Dan, is for Tesla, it's always been more demand than supply. If we are going into a recession,
Correct.
depending on what that looks like, will that still be the case for Tesla? They've never had to really worry about demand, but there's a lot of competition.
It's funny, on the high end, you would say they don't have to worry about demand because that consumer's doing a bit better, but that's where a lot of the competition is coming on. All the Germans, all the Japanese, they all have high end. I mean,
I can't
they're all
believe this.
there. And if you put these things, you stack them up. You want to take the Tesla Plaid at 140 versus a Porsche Taycan. I mean, 9 out of 10 people are going to take that Porsche. I'm just telling you, like matter of fact, I do these polls at every dinner I am. Yeah, I'm just telling you, like.
What's the price of the Porsche?
They're like the same price. You know what I mean? And so here's the issue. And
9
I say
out of
this
10
all the
people are
time.
gonna take the Porsche.
I had an EV. I had the Ford Mach-E. I had to give it back because, well, I had to take a loss on it.
Because it got recalled.
It's a great car, and it's a great car versus the low-end Tesla stuff. I
It
think
got
the service
recalled.
is going to be much better. The problem is the supercharging station build-out. It's not.
He said it's a
there
great
yet
car,
for
but I have to give it
anything
back
other than
because it got
Tesla.
recalled.
And that right now is going to give them that advantage on either one of those, price ranges. But your point about the recession, I mean, listen. At the end of the day, if we have a recession and crude oil comes in, I just think that you're going to see less demand in the near term until there's more optionality away from Tesla for these things. So I go back to that visibility on the back half of this year. We've all been around long enough. When you start hearing companies talk about, second half loaded sort of stuff, it doesn't make you feel good about the guidance that they're giving right now.
Yeah, a lot riding on that. There's also that report that Ford is going to be cutting a few thousand employees.
8,000.
8,000 on EVs. Let's bring in Fast Money friend Gene Munster of Blue
Gene's
Ventures
in.
for more reaction to Tesla's
Oh,
numbers.
look at him.
And I
He's
believe,
just like,
Gene,
he's
you've been a
seething.
long-time bull and still are on Tesla. What
This is great entertainment.
Well, Sarah, there's the near term and the long term. In the near term, it was negative. Obviously, that miss on the gross margin, it was worse than expected. And I was conservative going into it. It still missed those numbers. And I think that that is going to play into how investors process this quarter. Ultimately, I think this comes out, the stock trades down over the next few weeks as investors really start to wrap their head around what Dan is talking about, this production number for the back half of the year. And so just to frame it in as clearly as possible, I'm positive on Tesla. This was a negative quarter. There were a lot of headwinds that they had, and I want to just add a piece that they had a tailwind related to gross margins, and that did not offset some of the impact on gross margins. And so when I think you put it together, you need to be realistic here. And ultimately, the question comes down to these issues that have impacted this pressure point around gross margins. Are they transitory? Are they something that the company can work through? My sense is it will take a couple quarters to get through these. So we start to need to think about 2023 in terms of when we start to really see some lift on the margin side. And I just want to quickly frame in why that matters. Why are we talking so much about auto gross margin, ex EV credits? I'm a believer that Tesla is a tech company. And that belief is based on a margin profile similar to other tech companies. So to the extent that they can perform on that and continue to expand margins, kind of bodes my case for this being valued more like a tech company. And the reverse is happening right now for understandable reasons. But I think when you put this together, it was a headwind for this quarter. It doesn't change my belief. And I would just leave the thought, I'm still bullish on Tesla because I think they can't keep up with demand. And I think that's ultimately, they may or may not hit that back half of the year number because of production issues, but they're going to continue to gain share.
Nobody here believes you or agrees with you on the bullish call.
But you've made a great call. Gene, it's Karen. Let me just ask you about this gross margin issue. Do you think that part of the solution or the expansion of gross margin comes from a higher sticker price? Or do you think they're going to be able to operate more efficiently?
It's the efficiency piece. There's been essentially 3 different headwinds that they've had on the gross margin. One, of course, was the shutdown of Shanghai. That's just a huge headwind. There's the FX impact of that, and then also costs related to ramping Berlin and Austin. And so I think that, again, it was more of a negative impact than I was expecting it. This is a negative. This wasn't just about a lot of bad things thrown at Tesla. It was worse than what I had expected. But I do believe that over the next 6 months, they're going to work through a lot of these, and we're going to start to see a revision higher in terms of gross margin.
So, Gene, it's Tim. So the street, I think, is around 1.35 million units to the year. Tesla's numbers up 60% imply about 1.5. If you look at where they could be with Texas and Berlin, if you look at annual capacity, is there a surprise to the upside? Again, I think consensus is below even where Tesla has guided. Where are you?
I think that over the next 6 months, there's probably more risk to the numbers, to those delivery numbers, in part because essentially they're gonna have to re-accelerate pretty significant, or not significantly, but it needs to be just slightly above 50% for the back half of the year. And we're still coming out of these shutdowns, and we're still just in the phases of ramping Berlin. And so I think that I want to be clear is that I think the next 6 months, there can be some softness to these delivery numbers because it all comes down to how the world is going to, I guess, align for them to produce more. But I think what's more important is just that the market has a flashlight that looks into 2023. I think we forget that when we get our heads wrapped around these quarterly earnings. The question for me is not about what the margins are this quarter, what they're going to be next quarter, what the deliveries are next quarter. It's more, what are they going to be in 2023? And I think 2023, we're going to see expanding margins and separately deliveries that are going to be in that 50% plus better range.
I'm sort of surprised to see the stock up, given what you're saying, although it is fluctuating between up and down. Gene Munster, thank you very much. You'll keep us posted, please, with any details from the call. Last word, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just the lack of visibility. I think that Elon has a whole host of reasons, and I think as it relates to his deal with Twitter to kind of make sure this stock doesn't fall out of bed. If this stock falls out of bed, he has a hard time coming up with the equity to get that deal done if he's forced to do it in the trial in October.
The analysts never ask about Twitter. They never ask the good questions.
Well, they should also ask, hey, if any of you analysts why did Larry Ellison quietly leave the board a couple weeks ago on a Friday afternoon? And no one in the press, none of the analysts have asked about that. That was his big buddy there on the board. So I think that's a reasonable question.
Well, there's a lot of turnover on the entire team. They lost their head of AI. They've lost other key execs. So, yeah, I mean, clearly not everyone's in love with Elon.
And I know the Bitcoin sideshow, but I still think it's interesting that he said we're never going to sell Bitcoin, and now they sold it, and they would have been cash flow negative.
That I agree with.
You remember,
are we surprised?
They did say they're never going to sell Bitcoin.
Well, he didn't do that either.
Technically, they haven't sold all of it.
He is a liar.
Well, there we go.
Wow. Very salty at the end. Did you hear that at the end? Like, very salty. Okay, look, I got so many emotions watching that. I couldn't interrupt because there's no way for me to pause this and kind of continue. It's all live, right? By the way, I gotta give it to Gene. Like, Gene Munster, cool, calm, collected. Like, he's as cool as a cucumber, man. Like, shout out to you, Gene. Look, I think comparing Tesla to other automakers is disingenuous. The only thing that they both share is that they sell cars. When we talk about unit economics, couldn't be even more different. And I've pulled up here, hopefully, some unit economic numbers. So this is Tesla's margins. We know Tesla's operating margins are kind of approaching tech-like with, and again, these are quarter-over-quarter Tesla margins. So gross margin, 25%. We know Q1 was 29.11. This is just for some sort of credits. We talk about Ford, for example. This is GM, okay? GM's margins here. Operating margin, 6%. And this is a company at full scale. Like GM's been around for a long time, right? By the way, Tesla just gone a little bit negative. Hopefully you guys can see the after hours a little bit better now. This is Ford. Ford, look at their operating margin. I mean, their gross margin even is only at 15%. Quarter one of this year, their operating margin was, or their profit margin was minus 9%. Operating margin just a smidge over 3%. So, or close to 4%. It's just not in the same ballpark at all. And the reason why this matters is because Tesla's is trending up and to the right as they develop more efficiencies, as they start to scale, as stuff like the 4680s come out. As stuff like the gigcasting start getting incorporated, it's just disingenuous. And so when I heard that comment, I don't even know who that was on the panel that said, considering Ford and GM are, way less in market cap, I just don't see much upside on Tesla. You just can't help to think, like, does that person know where Tesla's EPS is today, where they're trending to, what their long-term growth story is? And the fact that by 2030, 2035, 2040, depending on different areas of the globe, internal combustion engine cars are being phased out. Like, here in BC, I think, or here in Canada, 2035, I think, is the zero emissions target for no more gas car sales. Might have been 2030, but it might have gotten pushed 5 years. Like, there's a terminal value to those cars, to those companies, I should say. So, by the way, shout out to whoever bought the Juju hat. I wish I knew your name, but feel free to reveal yourself in the chat if you want. I have no way to. So it's yeah, I don't know. 2035. Okay, thank you, Charles. It's just, if you're Ford, if you're GM, even as we stand today, you struggle to make a car at low volume at a profit. And I get it, you have to be at scale, but how are you going to get at scale when the unit economics of your EV cars are not profitable? And trust me, you guys hear it from me all the time. I love when new EV companies come out and they start scaling, like the Mach-E, the Ioniq, the Chevy Bolt. We had a Nissan Leaf. It's just hard to see a legacy auto company catching up. Just Learning says, I bought the hat. Hey, shout out to you, Just Learning. Oh, and by the way, I missed this. Alan, thank you for the $20 super chat, my friend. Couldn't play it during the CNBC time, but I appreciate you. Thank you. It's your second one of the day. I'll have a Juju slice for you, my friend. Who won the bid? Oh, the closing contest? Oh man, hold on. I have no way to know now. Damn. Hold on. Live chat. Damn, I can only scroll up like like half an hour. Damn it. All right, I flubbed the boat on that one. Kyle, thank you for the super chat, my friend. It's easy to be a politician today and make promises for 2025. You'll be long gone before anyone can hold you accountable. Yeah, but a lot of these, like for example, California, and any California friends, throw in the chat. I know they're a lot more aggressive, I think, than even we are up here. I think they're, and I get it. I get your sentiment, because there's a degree of, okay, well, these, we have these targets in, but who's to say that they don't get extended and extended and extended? And I think that's actually a pretty decent argument. I think the point though is that we see it transitioning regardless, even if it's not a hard cutoff, even if it's not a hard cutoff. The whole point is that we are transitioning. And so if you're a gas car company maker today and you're looking at the fact that you can't really build EVs at a profit today, maybe a break even, and then you consider checking out, okay, well, we can't build an EV at scale today and we can't build it at a profit, but we know that's where the market's headed. You're almost stuck between a rock and a hard place. Oh, Aaron won. Is that right, Digital? Did you just find out for me who won? I don't know how you did that, you wizard. Aaron Kendziorek, 742.20. Digital, thank you, my friend. Wow, I don't know how you pulled that up. Thank you. Well, there you go. You saved the day. You saved the day. So shout out to you, Aaron. I guess you won. I'm not even sure if Aaron's still watching the stream anymore. Yeah, it has been passed. It is a bill. It's a law, technically. But the point stands that it can be extended for sure. When is the earnings call? Top right. Check the top right of the screen. You'll see 7 minutes and 56 seconds until Tesla earnings call. By the way, I hope you guys are enjoying the stream. I had a whole new setup. I spent like an hour and a half yesterday and an hour the day before setting up a brand new OBS, brand new alerts, essentially everything, trying to up the value, trying to make it 1080, add new alerts in, add like tickers, new subscriber stuff. So stuff that I probably should have already had my shit together with, but but I didn't. But I hope you guys are liking it. And thanks for joining me. So we have 7 minutes and 20 seconds left until the earnings call starts. I'm going to put Tesla's. Folks, I am sweating. I'm not sure if you can tell. Maybe I'll do a zoom in on the mic to disgust everyone, but I am sweating in here. I guess that's what a sweater does. Thank you, Willis. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mimi. Epigenetics. It's funny. Like, we talked about the earnings call and we talked about, is Elon going to be on it? Like, we wonder about all these questions. At the end of the day, Gene Munster, that's why I like Gene, zoom out. Doesn't matter what happens this quarter, next quarter. What matters is what's going to happen next year. And I reckon we're probably going to get some sort of good idea with the battery tech and chips and whatnot out of that. Why the sweater, Vaughn? Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, right? First of all, I can't take off the sweater without going off screen. I'll just leave it at that. But I'm trying to promote the merch. Someone threw me a chat last month, and they're like, "How do you expect to sell merch if you're not going to wear it?" And I'm like, "That's so true. I wear it in my daily life, but when I come on live stream, I don't have it on." So that's a good point. Take off the hat. You know what? You're right. You can't have a heat stroke. Thank you, Organic. The hat did come off. It'll come back on when I go outside. Okay, 5 minutes and 53 seconds left until the earnings call. I feel like we're counting down the seconds here. But okay, so Tesla, for all intents and purposes, is essentially flat on the day, after hours, I should say. And Tesla, and Webull has some sort of update here. Tesla is doing a bottoming wedge, medium-term bullish. Price target being 892 to 926. Interesting. Pattern duration is 33 days. Data disclaimer, technical analysis and indicators are from Trading Central. They're two separate, unaffiliated companies. They're all provided for educational and informational purposes only and do not constitute any investment advice. That is true. Interesting. I didn't know Webull's new update had that stuff on. I've been putting off updating it for a while. So as we sit here right now, not that anyone needs to be reminded, but from April 1st to today, we're on Tesla sitting down 36%, give or take, in the last 73 days. 73 trading days, 109 actual days. 36% in that time period, the NASDAQ, pull up that. In that time period, the NASDAQ is sitting 18% down. So essentially a beta of 2 sitting on Tesla. By the way, the strength that we're seeing in the NASDAQ is nice to actually see. I know we're kind of getting higher highs here in the last little bit on the Qs. It's nice to see. Same can't be said for Tesla. Is Elon on the call? I guess we'll find out. Wolfgang says we're at 38 degrees Celsius today. Wow. Holy crap. You're in Germany though, aren't you, Wolfgang? That's crazy. Wow, 38 degrees. Yeah, I guess we'll find out in 4 minutes if Elon's going to be on the call. Shirtless Elon. Louis says, is no one concerned that they chose to sell Bitcoin at a loss? Well, I still have yet to see. They still have some Bitcoin, right? I still have yet to see the math breakdown on what their cost basis was and what they exited out on. So it's not a huge loss. But yeah, I mean, I talked about how the fact that they chose to sell Bitcoin after saying that they're going to diamond hands it forever. I mean, by saying forever, I mean, diamond hands kind of has that implicitly built in. Yeah, I mean, it's not a good look for sure. So I wonder, but at the same time, do I really care to spend time on the earnings call talking about Bitcoin? Not really. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to minimize it too much, but at the end of the day, I don't really care about what Tesla does with Bitcoin. I don't know. Wow. Judy says 99 degrees in Yucca Valley. Wow, folks. That's crazy. Yeah, I thought it was hot here. We're 27 degrees. I was like, man, it's hot. Tesla just released an 8K. Actually, let me pull that up. What did Tesla release? Let's see their SEC filings. Tesla released an 8K. What's the 8K on? Oh, it's just an 8K saying that they released earnings. Sorry. False alarm. All right. 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left until Tesla earnings call comes on. I will be shutting up for this call, of course, as usual. Thanks for subscribing, folks. I won't be on mic for this call, barring anything happening. But I'll be sitting down watching here with you guys. And stay tuned. You don't have to go anywhere. Keep it locked and loaded. Almost there. I'm guessing they're going to play music any second now. And then we'll go from there. Vern says it's 40 degrees in UK yesterday. What is happening? 43 degrees in lovely Texas. Shout out BD. How's it going? Wow, that's nuts. Global warming. All right, here we are. Okay, hopefully the music doesn't cut me out. Hold on. Okay, they're playing some sort of techno music. We're playing techno music. I played their freaking techno music last time, and it got me out. It got me copyrighted on my stream last year. Rookie mistake, I get it. But how do you blame me? Just waiting in line for the earnings call to start. What a great photo. Forward Cap, shout out Forward Cap on Twitter, saying Tesla year-over-year growth rates, revenue up 42%, gross profit up 47%, EBIT, I should say, up 88%, GAAP EPS up 91%. This is despite COVID shutdowns, shutting their main production facility for the first quarter. Indeed, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it could have been a much better quarter for sure. But all in all, grand scheme, zooming out, it is what it is. Oh, there's the music again. Free the nips. I got a shirt over there. I'm probably gonna change into it after this pulls up. Chirac says, "What happened to Tesla has diamond hands?" Yeah, I know. Yeah, we talked about that. So it's not great. It's not a good look, I should say. I guess if they come out and they say that they had an explicit reason why to, other than just like, oh, Bitcoin was about to dump, so we got scared and we just sold it. Instead, it was like, oh, we thought we could diversify into going into this currency or something. Maybe, but yeah, it's in terms of the look, the narrative, yeah, it doesn't look great. Yesterday was 40 degrees. Wow, that's nuts. 40 is no joke. I think the highest I got here in Vancouver was last year during our heat wave. It was like 36, 37. It was nuts. Okay, I think the earnings call is on. Nope, never mind. Techno music. Cubic zirconia hands. Yeah, indeed. All right. A couple more minutes here, folks, until the earnings call. Let me turn down this little banner. I haven't made these little like news banners that go in and out. Okay. Techno music still on. Someone let me know when the techno music is off. I'll pull it up right here. And I'll pull up, is this big enough? How's that? Is that a little bit better so you guys can see the after hours price reaction? Or maybe I should pull up the after hours price reaction on the Webull screen. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Hold on. If I did that, audio output capture. If I did this and I just covered it to be bigger, and then we'll see here. Music is still on. Okay, I'll do that. And then what I'll do on Webull for everyone is as soon as the call starts, I'll throw just a trend line, a vertical line. I'll just label it start of call. I think it'll start like it there. And you guys can see that's when the call started, so we can see how price action goes as it goes on. Let's see if they're... Okay, there we go.
My name is Martin Vieca, VP of Investor Relations, and I'm joined today
by
Elon
you guys hear that?
Musk, Zachary Kirkhorn, and a number of other executives.
that good? Audio okay?
Our Q2 results were announced at about 3 p.m. Central Time in the update deck we published at the same link as this webcast. During this call, we will discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements. These comments are based on our predictions and expectations as of today. Actual events
Awesome,
or
thanks.
results could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those mentioned in our most recent filings with the SEC. During the question and answer portion of today's call, please limit yourself to one question and one follow-up. Please use the raise hand button to join the question queue. But before we jump into Q&A, Elon has some opening remarks. Elon?
Thank you, Martin. So
Elon's
just
on.
as a Q2 recap, Q2 was a unique quarter for Tesla due to a prolonged shutdown of our Shanghai factory. But in spite of all these challenges, it was one of the strongest quarters in our history. Most importantly, in June, we achieved production records in both Fremont and Shanghai. And as a result, we have the potential for a record-breaking second half of the year. I do want to emphasize this is obviously subject to force majeure, things outside of our control. The past few years have been quite a few force majeures. And it's been kind of supply chain hell for several years. Credit to our awesome Tesla supply chain team for overcoming insanely difficult challenges. Huge thanks to the Tesla Shanghai factory team who sacrificed a lot to get the factory back up and running in June and achieve a record output. So also making good progress with production ramp with Berlin. We achieved an important milestone of 1,000 cars a week in June, and we're expecting our Giga Texas to exceed the 1,000 vehicle per week milestone hopefully in the next few months. We're to be clear, we're currently making the cars with the 2170 cells, and Drew Becklino will address some of the 4680 questions later in this call. But it is worth emphasizing that we have enough 2170 cells to satisfy all vehicle production for the remainder of the year. So we're not dependent on 4680. 4680 will be important next year, but it is not important this year. That said, we have installed the second generation of manufacturing equipment for 4680 cells in Texas. And even at our established factories like Fremont and Shanghai, we continue to expand capacity. Regarding Autopilot, we have now deployed FSD Beta with city streets driving capability to over 100,000 owners. They're very happy with the capabilities of the system, and will continue to improve it every week. We've now driven over 35 million miles with FSD Beta. That's more autonomous miles than any company we're aware of. I think probably it might be more than all other companies combined. And that mileage is growing exponentially. With regard to manufacturing and technology, about 5 or 6 years ago, we said we wanted to become the best manufacturer in the world, and that is somewhat counterintuitively to some people what will actually be, I think, our strongest competitive advantage. We're super pro manufacturing here at Tesla, and in general, we want to encourage other companies to be super pro manufacturing, and in general, I think it is a very important thing to do. We need to make stuff and make it efficiently, and that's manufacturing. So we've made a lot of advancements in manufacturing processes, as we now show in the shareholder deck. Thanks to the large castings, we make the world's largest castings. We reduced body welding robot count by 70% per unit of capacity in Austin and Berlin. So that's call it roughly a body shop that is roughly 3 times smaller than would normally be the case. And I should say it's also lighter, cheaper, and has superior noise, vibration, and harshness. So it's good on every level. But this journey is not over. We'll bring another level of simplicity and manufacturing improvements with Cybertruck. and future products that we're not quite ready to talk about now, but I think will be very exciting to unveil in the future. Our safety team also introduced a feature that tensions seatbelts if the vision system detects imminent collision, which has never been done before. So you can imagine that if you have a seatbelt that only tensions upon impact, you have very little time to tension the seatbelt. If you've got to be, the car has literally got to be crunching to trigger the seatbelt tensioner. But because we have vision, we can actually see that a collision is about to occur with 100% probability before it actually happens. And so we can tension the seatbelts, and we can even adjust the airbag deployment because we can see, not just feel. This is a fundamental safety advantage that Teslas are now able to offer. And this is also an over-the-air update. So this is something that will be in place in all cars that have at least AP3 hardware. In conclusion, we exited Q2 with a stronger production rate than ever before. Our team continues to focus on Cybertruck production readiness and some future platform design. We are expecting to be still expecting to be in production with the Cybertruck in the middle of next year, and we're very, very excited about that product. I think it might actually be our best product ever. Let's see, and FSD beta is on track to be released for all of North American customers before the end of this year, and hopefully, if we get regulatory approval, we'll also be releasing it hopefully in Europe and some other parts of the world. We're hosting our AI Day in a few months. I think people will be amazed at what we're able to show off in AI Day. So basically, there's a tremendous amount to look forward to in the second half of this year. And I want to thank all of our employees and suppliers for their super hard work during these challenging times. Super appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Zach has some opening remarks as well.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. I want to start by congratulating the Tesla team on excellent execution during the second quarter. Although our production volume reduced sequentially due to COVID-related shutdowns in Shanghai, we made substantial progress in nearly every area of the business, and in particular, our global vehicle production rate as we exited the quarter. Our Fremont factory, supported by our Reno team, reached new production records. The Shanghai factory resumed full production, and our new factories in Austin and Berlin are progressing well through their initial ramps. Additionally, our energy business achieved record gross profit with the highest solar volumes in many years. I want to personally thank the entire Tesla team, as I know many of you are listening. You've embodied a remarkable and relentless pursuit of excellence in support of our mission. I also want to thank our suppliers for their support during another complicated quarter. On GAAP automotive gross margin, it declined sequentially to 27.9%. The temporary decline in Shanghai production volume meaningfully impacted margin, including idle capacity and factory restart costs, and also had implications on the mix of regional deliveries. Additionally, as discussed on previous calls, we are working through the ramp inefficiencies of our new factories, which are progressing well, but have had an impact on margin as those factories come online. While we continue to see a benefit from higher pricing flowing through, which experienced some foreign exchange-related headwinds, our cost structure continues to experience cost increases from inflation, commodities, and logistics. The energy business progressed well in Q2, aided by alternate solar supply coming online and progress on unit economics. Our storage business remains component constrained on both Powerwall and Megapack, which we hope will alleviate to some extent in the second half of the year. We are greatly appreciative of the patience and flexibility shown by our customers while we work through these challenges. Within operating expenses, Austin and Berlin related startup costs have wound down as these factories have moved into production and their costs are now reflected in automotive COGS. Additionally, we converted a majority of our Bitcoin holdings to fiat for a realized gain, offset by impairment charges on the remainder of our holdings, netting a $106 million cost to the P&L included within restructuring and other. We also incurred restructuring charges related to targeted staffing reductions.
Yeah, actually, it should be mentioned that the reason we sold a bunch of our Bitcoin holdings was that we were uncertain as to when the COVID lockdowns in China would alleviate. So it was important for us to maximize our cash position, given the uncertainty of the COVID lockdowns in China. We are certainly open to increasing our Bitcoin holdings in future. So this should not be taken as some verdict on Bitcoin. It's just that we were concerned about overall liquidity for the company given COVID shutdowns in China. And we have not sold any of our Dogecoin.
We still have it.
We still have our Dogecoin.
Okay.
Despite these challenges, we were still able to achieve one of our strongest operating margins of 14.6%. Our free cash flows were impacted by working capital related to the Shanghai factory shutdown. However, we expect this will show as a benefit in Q3 as our working capital related cash flows restabilize. As we look ahead, and as Elon mentioned, we are positioned for a record-breaking second half of the year. We're quite excited about this. A couple things to keep in mind as we progress. Austin and Berlin ramp inefficiencies will continue to weigh on our margins for the balance of the year. However, the impact should reduce as we increase ramp. Second, as we've mentioned before, we expect to continue to see recognized global pricing to increase as our backlog flows through. However, macroeconomic related cost increases will also continue to be part of our story. And finally, despite losing more builds in Q3 than expected, we're still pushing to reach 50% growth this year. This target has become more difficult, but it remains possible with strong execution. And as Elon mentioned, no more force majeure events for the balance of the year.
A lot of force majeure in the last several years. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now let's go to the questions from investors. The first question is, Chinese EV manufacturers seem to be doing a better job than their Western competitors, excluding Tesla, at innovating in software and design. How can Tesla make sure the company is staying ahead of those manufacturers, both within China and outside of China?
Well, right now the best Chinese EV manufacturer is Tesla China. We're actually doing the best thanks to our incredible team in China. But I have a lot of respect for the Chinese car manufacturers and EV manufacturers in particular. I think they will be a force to be reckoned with worldwide. They're smart and they're hardworking, and I think anyone who is not, any company that's not as competitive as them will obviously suffer a market share decline. So I would say we have a lot of respect for the car companies in China and then their capabilities. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is, when will Tesla have a unified vector space for both static and moving object network? Will this be a V11 or later version? If the latter, can you explain what makes it a difficult problem in layman terms?
Okay. This answer will be understood by 0.001%
That's what I was saying.
of the audience, I think. Most people don't know what a unified vector space would actually mean. It essentially would be if you can take, if instead of knitting together static and dynamic objects in C++, if they can be knit together at the neural net level, then you don't need to reconcile them within C++ heuristics. That is an architecturally better way that's the most desirable outcome. I think it's probably not necessary to achieve full self-driving, but it would be a slight improvement in the efficiency of the self-driving, and it's certainly something we want to get to. The sort of nirvana situation is you have surround video auto labeling of all static and dynamic objects, and you have then surround video inference with spatial memory as well. And that's, I think we're almost certainly there before the end of the year. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Not sure how many people understand that, but
sounds good.
I should say also we are also confident of improving the frame rate as we delete some of the legacy neural nets. We think we might be able to get the frame rate of OLED cameras maybe up to 36 FPS, which is actually a lot of frames considering it's 8 cameras. But certainly comfortably above 24 frames, which is basically the movie frame rate of movies.
Thank you. The next question is, Elon recently tweeted about lowering prices once inflation cools down. Can you elaborate on what do you mean by cooling down and how aggressively the company will lower prices? More broadly, how do you think about the auto pricing long term?
Yeah, so since we have, there's a quite a long wait when somebody orders our car. In some cases, it's like six months. In some cases, it could be up to a year.
Mm-hmm.
We have to anticipate what the probable inflation rate is over that period of time. So that's what we're trying to do. When we see, when or if we see indications that the inflation rate is declining, then we would not need to increase our car prices. It's possible that there could be a slight decrease in car prices, but this is fundamentally dependent on macroeconomic inflation. It's not something we control. If I were to guess, and I wouldn't take this with a grain of salt, I think inflation will decline towards the end of this year. We're certainly seeing prices of commodities trending lower, but take it with a grain of salt. This is making economic prognostication is fraught with error. I don't know if you guys want to, do you want to say anything about?
Yeah, we're certainly seeing, I mean, it's kind of a whole spectrum. On the battery metal side, for example, the price of lithium has really shot up. It used to be $11 a kilogram to more than $80 a kilogram. But, it's not every situation is that bad. So it's kind of a spectrum.
Like carbon steel, aluminum, up to sweat.
Talk close to the camera.
Carbon steel and aluminum has started trending down. We will see the benefits of it only probably later part of this year or early next year.
Yeah, but I think that's just like for most commodities, we're seeing a downward trend towards the end of this year or next year. Some commodities, the processing of lithium is insane. I'd like to once again urge entrepreneurs to enter the lithium refining business. The mining is relatively easy. The refining is much harder. So the lithium is actually a very common. There's like lithium pretty much everywhere, but you have to refine the lithium into battery grade lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide, which has the extremely high purity. So it is basically like minting money right now. There's like software margins in lithium processing right now. So I would really like to encourage once again entrepreneurs to enter the lithium refining business. You can't lose. It's licensed to print money.
I'm making a meme right now on that.
The next question is, you made the right economic call before most on inflation when you diversified into Bitcoin. It has since shown it's not much of a hedge in the real world test in the last few months. How do you think about it as an asset over long term, and what do you need to see to change your view?
Well, Tesla's goal is to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy. We're not really cryptocurrency is a sideshow to the sideshow. So we're not cryptocurrency is not something we think about a lot. We think a lot about scaling production and accelerating the advent of sustainable energy, which the record heat waves around Earth serve to emphasize the urgency of that transition. So that is what we're trying to do, is make electric vehicles and solar and stationary storage battery packs. The three pillars of a sustainable energy future, which is like solar and wind for energy generation, stationary battery packs for storage of the solar and wind energy because of its intermittency, and then electric vehicles, the third pillar. And if those three things are solved, we have a sustainable future for civilization. And the fundamental good of Tesla, and the reason we're doing this, or certainly my primary motivation here, is to have the day of sustainable energy come sooner. That's our goal. We're neither here nor there on cryptocurrency.
Thank you. The next question on 4680. Elon noted that 4680 plus structural pack is not yet optimized. Can you please share the general path of 4680 and structural packs in terms of cost efficiencies when compared to the traditional 2170 pack? Will cost improvements be mostly due to scale, or do we need to solve some technical issues?
Should I start off?
Yeah, do you want to do the architecture?
Yeah. So structural pack, where we get dual use of the battery or the cells as structure and as energy storage, in the same way that an aircraft gets dual use of the wing as a fuel tank and as a wing, is, I think, unequivocally, from a physics standpoint, the superior architecture. So it's the A architecture. Now, because it is new, we'll start off getting, aspirationally a C within an A architecture. But the potential is there to get radically better and then unequivocally better than a battery pack, which is carried like a sack of potatoes.
And we've gained the perspective through putting our first structural pack in production that it is actually the A architecture.
Yeah.
Like before we did that, it was a hypothesis that was backed with a lot of modeling and first principles analysis, but now we've actually built it and are more confident in that assertion.
So exactly. So the structural pack, even the C and the A architecture, is beating the non-structural pack. And so over time, it will, with further refinement, be substantially superior to a car that is carrying a battery pack as though it is cargo. And this, like I said, it's very, very much very analogous to the early days of aviation, where fuel tanks were initially carried like cargo until they realized actually you should get dual use of the fuel tank as a wing and as a fuel tank, and that makes the planes lighter and better. And the same is true of electric vehicles.
And on cost improvements, are they due to scale or about solving technical issues?
Both.
Yeah, it's always both.
Yeah, I mean, but really, the two things that improve cost are economies of scale and core technology. So,
I think technical issues are not the right.
Technical issues like technology.
It's like getting to the optimal design, right? Like you always start with some excess. Some people might call it fat, but that's not really what you think it is initially. It's that you don't know how lean you can get it until you've done it a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, there's some platonic ideal of the perfect product where the atoms, you have exactly the right atoms in there in exactly the right position, and you asymptotically approach this platonic ideal. And but it takes a lot of effort over time to figure out actually what is the platonic ideal, and then to actually gradually approach that.
Yeah, I mean, you might need to create a new alloy, then you need to figure out how to cast it, then you need to ramp the casting machine of the new alloy. As an example,
we did.
We've done it for rotors, we've done it for the casting. So, but those take time.
Constant improvement is something we're used to here, and it's something like we've done with our vehicles and our designs since the beginning. I mean, even we were talking a couple of weeks ago, like the first version of the front casting that we made that went into the early vehicles is like
Model S days?
No, I'm talking about like our first Model S.
Oh yeah.
Since we've ordered more dies because we need more dies for more production, we've saved like 4 or 5 kilos of mass just in die iteration, and that's something we do at Tesla like quite regularly, and we'll continue to do. So like we're not happy with a C, like maybe we're at a C+ now but like we got to keep going to get to
a B- ish on the rear casting, but there's still tremendous room for improvement with the casting. So the casting is already way better than the rear body casting is already way better than the way it was done in the past, where you've got 120 different parts that are welded together or bonded together with different alloys, and then you have to put sealant in between all the various parts for water ingress and noise. So we're already way better than that with current casting, but there's still a lot of opportunities to reduce the mass of the casting and also extend the casting to include more parts, as well as adapt the rest of the vehicle for the fact that there's a casting.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, right? Like, we're not just evaluating the pack in isolation either.
Yeah.
It's the pack plus the body, the integration. Do we have mass in the right places? Do we have the cost in the right places, and only just the right amount? And I think, we've gone through one iteration. We're doing another one with Cybertruck. I mean, we're taking the learnings and doing, the next version hopefully is a B plus.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
In the A architecture. That's certainly its target.
Thank you. The next question is, how do you feel the progress of FSD is going, and does Andrej Karpathy's leaving have any significant impact on timelines or potential progress?
Well, since Andrej was writing all the code by himself, naturally things would come to a grinding halt. Insert irony. Andrej's obviously, Andrej's awesome, and we have tremendous amount of respect for Andrej. He's decided to. I think he wants to contribute more to, I think, core AI at an academic level, and get back to coding individually. So, but we've got a team of about 120 people in our software AI group that are extremely talented, and I think we will have. I'm highly confident we will solve full self-driving, and it still seems to be this year. I know people are like, always says that, but it does seem to be like it does seem as though we're converging on solving full self-driving this year.
Okay, there it is.
Thank you.
Again.
The next question is, how is the 4680 ramp going?
Oh, it's a good one.
Is Giga Texas producing cells yet?
Yeah, so we are making progress on 4680, but right now, as Elon mentioned, we are leveraging supplier cells, which we have in sufficient quantity to ramp Texas and Berlin. We expect to ramp total 4680 production to exceed 1K per week by the end of the year, hopefully before.
Okay.
Well before. In Q2 at Cato, we fully automated powder conveyance for the dry anode electrode tool there, unlocking major increases in production and improvements in yields. Since March, because of that, Cato output has grown 35% month over month, each month since, and yields throughout the factory are already at targets in most areas and trending in that direction in a few others. We did feed learnings from Fremont cell and pack lines to Texas and Berlin. They aren't a carbon copy. Cell design was revved to unlock higher performance and manufacturing simplicity. Manufacturing lines were further integrated, and we insourced additional content. For these reasons, there are some new ramp challenges to overcome in Texas and Berlin. Specific to Texas last quarter, cell equipment was fully installed and commissioned, and we produced our first commissioning car sets of cells through the end of the line. Our target for Texas is to begin production this quarter and aim for Texas to be capable of exceeding Cato weekly output before the end of this year.
Okay.
Thank you very much. The next question is on 4680 as well, but I think Drew has covered everything that was in the next question. So the following question is, with regards to the ramp of production in Austin and Berlin, how is the situation with regards to supply of semiconductors, battery cells, and other components? How about cost inflation impacting profitability of these other plants?
Smart. I can take that. So Tesla procures about 1,600 unique pieces of silicon from 43 semiconductor companies. So with a portfolio of that size, there are always challenges. Things are more stable on the latest generation chips. We still see some tightness in the older generation semiconductors, especially in the analog and mixed signal space. but we have line of sight to solve for the volumes being contemplated for both Austin and Berlin. And on the cell front, like Elon mentioned, we have a comfortable margin thanks to record output from our partners and have line of sight that matches the planned output from both factories. We've grown cell production significantly on a 12-month rolling basis and have long-term contracts with all our partners for key battery metals. So we don't see any major problems for the components, of course, barring unforeseen COVID-related shutdowns.
Just to add on the profitability part of the question, Q2 was our largest increase yet over the last handful of quarters on inflation and commodity-related increases to our cars. It's fairly evenly spread across the factories, given common suppliers or common issues that impact the broad supply chain. So I think I had mentioned before that we had been seeing increases over the course of last year. It ticked up in Q1, and then it ticked up again. The rate of increase was more in Q2. So as we look through to the end of the year, what we're seeing is we don't think the inflation-related increases in Q3 will be as big as Q2. But as Elon had mentioned, there's uncertainty on pricing here. And we don't have full exposure, as Karan had just mentioned, on every component of cost, because we do have some contracts in place, but there are some spot buys as well, and some contracts being renegotiated. So, we're managing it with pricing and in partnership with our suppliers, but it does continue to be something that is impacting our financials.
Okay, thank you very much. And the last question is, when will the Cybertruck be officially available?
We're hoping to start delivering them in the middle of next year.
Hoping to start delivering.
Great, thank you very much. And now let's go to analyst questions. The first question comes from Pierre Ferragu from New Street Research.
Oh, Pierre.
Pierre, feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, guys. Thanks a lot for taking my question. I'd like to ask a question on 4680 and the structural battery pack. And I'd love to understand where you stand on the technology and efficiency and energy density roadmap that you described at the Battery Day. So what I'm trying to understand is, where do you stand on the architecture of the battery cell itself? How much silicon do you have in it? How much energy improvement have you achieved already so far? The reason I'm asking, sorry?
No, go ahead.
And the reason why I'm asking that is because you have very smart guys on Twitter who shared experience about trying to fully empty a Model Y from Texas, from Austin, and noticing behaviors and recharging behaviors that suggested that maybe these cars had very, very high mileage, very high range, and were artificially limited in range in software. So I'm just kind of trying to understand how much of an edge you're building at the moment with the 4680 and the structural battery pack on range.
Yeah, let me try to provide a super straightforward answer. As Elon mentioned before, our priority was really on simplicity and scale during the initial 4680 and structural battery ramp. So we weren't putting all the bells and whistles in from day one, because if so, we would be sort of suffering under a string of series miracles that we would need to achieve to get going. But as we attain the manufacturing goals that we've stated, hit the ramp that we need to hit next year, we are certainly planning to layer in new material technologies and higher range structural packs. We're not holding back goodies for some rainy day or something like that.
Yeah, maybe another way of putting it is that our focus right now is on basically dozens of little issues that inhibit the production ramp of the 4680. Some of the more challenging ones have been feeding the anode and cathode material, because we were using this revolutionary dry electrode process. But when something's revolutionary, it's a lot of unknowns that have to be resolved. So we're confident of resolving those unknowns, but it's very very difficult. But yeah, we're making rapid progress on that front. So the first order of business is really get the basics right, get to high volume and high reliability, and then very rapidly iterate within that to enhance the energy density and reduce the cost of the cell. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I'd say we are highly confident of a good outcome. It's the exact counterpoint of that is perhaps it is of some debate, but the outcome is not.
Yeah, and specific to the dry process, we made a major advance this past quarter in Cato that the team is really excited about, and congrats to the team for achieving that.
But I should also emphasize that it is not as though Tesla intends to displace our suppliers of battery cells. The Tesla battery cell production is in addition to what our suppliers can do, and we want our suppliers to grow their battery output as fast as they possibly can, and that goes for the entire supply chain. The fundamental rate limiter for Earth transitioning to sustainable energy is how fast can you grow lithium-ion battery output per year. This is the fundamental rate limiter for Earth transitioning to sustainability, because you need the batteries for two of the pillars of sustainability: the stationary storage and for vehicles.
Yeah, and I just want to stress that a lot of these, higher energy density technologies are not necessarily scalable. I mean, most of them are not scalable from what I've seen. And so focusing on them is a distraction from the mission. It really is, how do we scale as fast as possible? And, we're taking these risks that we've discussed at Battery Day, and our plan is, as we de-risk them and they are successful, we want to bring them back to our partners so that they can go faster too, because that's all on the mission, right? How do we accelerate?
People often ask me if is some breakthrough needed in battery technology for the world to transition to sustainability. The answer is no. Even if there was zero technology breakthroughs, literally zero, from where the technology is right now, we could fully transition Earth to sustainable energy. The issue is very much the rate at which the entire supply chain, from mining to refining to cell production, how fast can that grow? It's growing fast, but the faster it grows, the faster we transition to a sustainable energy economy.
This is actually a great, exactly where my follow-up is. So, Elon, you always mention, this 50% per annum sustainable growth target that you guys have, and so my question here is, when we see the difficulty regarding commodities, raw materials, swinging prices, I'm kind of wondering, as you are planning for this 50% per annum growth, if we stand today over the next 5 to 10 years, how much of that do you feel you've secured through your work at entering into long-term contracts and things like that? And you were calling for entrepreneurs to go into the lithium business. And so does that mean you don't have enough lithium secured to grow 50% per annum over multiple years? And what's how much of that is secured today, and how fast can you improve that, basically?
Well, I think it's very difficult to predict anything 10 years from now. I hope civilization is still around, frankly. I would count that as a win.
Not that fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Every day.
Hopefully we haven't had World War III by then.
Oh my God.
Or the Earth isn't burned up.
Yeah. So, we do see constraints in refining of the materials necessary for lithium-ion batteries. I do want to emphasize it is not due to a scarcity of the raw material. In the case of lithium is one of the most common elements on Earth. It's pretty much everywhere. But refining of the lithium into ultra-high purity battery-grade lithium hydroxide and lithium carbonate is quite difficult and requires a massive amount of machinery, and it's a hard thing to scale. As well, it is also difficult to create the anode and cathode. I think my guess is maybe 2/3 of batteries will be iron phosphate, or maybe iron phosphate with some manganese. And there's there's a ridiculous amount of iron on Earth. In fact, Earth is a little bit of trivia. Someone says, what is Earth made of more than anything else? Iron. Iron is the number one ingredient of Earth by mass. Number two is oxygen. Yeah, which is wild. But yeah, oxygen's basically rust. You stuck them together. We're a rust ball. That's almost 2/3 of Earth, I think, is rust. We are like a rusty ball bearing, with a little bit of other stuff. But plenty of lithium. So anyway, there's not like a shortage of materials.
Yeah, I mean, another thing on that LFP thing is it isn't just that there's more access to material that way. The actual refining process is less capital intensive to make a good LFP cathode. And so it's not just scalable on the resource side, it's scalable on the refining side.
Absolutely. To be clear, there's no fundamental barrier here. It's simply a rate question. Like, at what rate can you scale production? Yeah. And I think we're seeing a very rapid increase in battery production, and in the whole supply chain. If you were to say today, what are concerns? A few years down the road, I would say one of the concerns is the machinery to refine the critical ingredients of lithium-ion cells. So the lithium itself, and then the cathode, which I said, we mostly iron phosphate, perhaps with some manganese. I think almost all stationary storage will be iron phosphate, and then you really just need nickel chemistry for long range vehicles and like aircraft and that kind of thing.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is, we're working with our suppliers to ramp their capability as quickly as possible. And it's not like we have a problem in the next year or two, to specifically to your question.
Okay.
But when we go 10 years out, we need to do more to accelerate the growth. And that is why we are making our own investments. Like, we are building a cathode facility here in Texas. The steel is going up. You can see it in the flyovers. We're working on lithium refining activity as well ourselves, because the best way to learn how to accelerate something is to do it yourself. So these are the things we're doing to move it all forward.
Yeah, I mean, if our suppliers don't solve these problems, then we will. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question comes from Emmanuel Rosner from Deutsche Bank.
That was one analyst
Emmanuel,
question.
go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have a question on your vehicle demand and then a quick follow-up on supply. First, on the demand side, are you seeing any sort of pressure in the order book or the pace of new order, or any sort of like slowdown as a result of the pressures that the consumer is experiencing? Are you worried about it in light of your view of the risk to the economy that I think you expressed, Elon?
Well, right now our problem is very much production. So we have long leads on, as anyone can tell if they order our car. If you order a Model Y, it will arrive sometime next year. So this is clearly not an issue for many months for us. Our problem is overwhelmingly that of production. So, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe just two things to add. Specifically on your question, are we seeing a macroeconomic impact on our demand? Not that I can tell.
Boom.
Maybe a little, but
some maybe, but it's
not material. The second thing, to Elon's point about backlogs, we have a very long runway with very long lead times here. I mean, certainly the world is uncertain, and we'll have to see where things go with commodity prices, how quickly we're ramping production, what the state of the world looks like at some point next year. But the demand is not something we spend really any time talking about.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe just once again worth mentioning that there is a difference between value for money and fundamental affordability. Because sometimes people say, well, if you got all this demand, why don't you just raise the price to some, double the price or something? And this is usually expressed by somebody who's rich. So there's even if you rail value for money to infinity, if consumers do not have enough money to buy it, even a product where the desirability is railed to infinity, they simply cannot buy it. So this is why you cannot just raise prices to some arbitrarily high level, because you pass the affordability boundary and then the demand falls off a cliff. So I do feel like we've raised our prices, or we've raised our prices quite a few times. They're frankly at embarrassing levels. But we've also had a lot of supply chain and production shocks, and we've got crazy inflation. So, I'm hopeful. This is not a promise or anything, but I'm hopeful that at some point we can reduce the prices a little bit.
Thank you.
Okay, that's clear.
Follow-up?
Yeah, my follow-up was actually on the supply side. So it was very encouraging to see that you're quantifying your current installed capacity at basically already in excess of 1.9 million units installed currently. How quickly do you think that you can fill that capacity?
Well, I mean, I think we've got a good chance of exiting this year at 40,000 vehicles a week.
Yeah, I mean, our internal plans are to have the capacity utilized by the end of the year. It takes time to ramp there. It'll be a challenge. There's a lot that needs to happen to get there, but that's what we're working on.
Yeah, we've had many 30,000 car weeks already, so I think a 40,000 car week is within reach by the end of this year.
Yeah.
Shanghai and Fremont, as we said last month, were record production, and they're really firing. It's a bad term. Doing really well.
Yeah.
But then Austin and Berlin are coming on strong. Theoretically, they also had record quarters last quarter. And if we ramp them to the capacity shown in the deck, by the end of this year, we'll be at that rate.
Yeah. There's always a lot of uncertainty, and like in the production ramp looks like an S curve. And that intermediate part of the S curve it's very difficult to predict that with high certainty. But the end part of the S curve, you can say, I think you can have a lot more certainty, and so that's why I'm confident we'll get to 5,000 cars a week at in Austin and Berlin. By the end of this year or early next year, and probably, but not certainly, 10,000 cars a week at both locations by the end of next year.
Thank you. The next question comes from Colin Rush from Oppenheimer. Colin, go ahead, please.
Thanks so much, guys. Could you talk a little bit about the pricing strategy around FSD and as you get closer to this full functionality rolling out and the increased cycle times, how you see that evolving through the balance of this year and into 2023?
Yeah, we will. We will increase the price of FSD sometime later this year. I think, probably just before we go to wide beta. Where wide beta is, anyone who wants to use the beta software with all the caveats associated with that, can use it, then it would make sense to increase the price of FSD. The value of FSD is, I think, extremely high and not well understood by most people. It is basically currently ridiculously cheap, assuming FSD materializes, which it will.
Doubling down.
Great. And then, sorry to belabor a little bit on this battery material side, but in terms of some of the suppliers and the contaminants, can you be a little bit more specific around some of the elements that you guys see in some of your supply chain that can prove troublesome on yields for the 4680s, particularly around lithium and potential contaminants in either the hydroxide or the carbonates that you guys end up seeing real issues with as you move into production?
Yeah, I don't really think we have anything to comment on. Yeah, the purity specs of lithium on this call right now. Yeah,
contaminants for the 4680 are not a factor. This is not an issue.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question comes from Tony Sacconaghi from Bernstein. Tony, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you for taking my question. I have two as well. In response to the question around demand, I think, Zach, you said maybe a little, and Elon, you said maybe some indication that you might see some pressure on demand. And I'm wondering if that is really just speculation or whether there's any empirical data that you saw in the last month, whether it be cancellations or order lead times, that led you to make that comment. I think anecdotally, if you squint, the lead times have gotten a little lower over the last 4 months in both China and the US. That's really the only visibility investors have. So I'm wondering if you could maybe elaborate on whether that's really just your, sort of anticipating there could be some impact because of high prices, or whether there is something anecdotally or quantitatively that you could point to, please.
Good luck.
I think we've said this now for many years, and it is proven true. Tesla does not have a demand problem. We have a production problem. And we've pretty much almost always had it with, with very rare exception, it's always been a production problem. I think that will remain the case.
Also, there's a denominator and a numerator, and
if you increase production.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. As we increase production, more demand is needed, obviously.
Well, it's more just you can't look at the backlog and state much about demand, because we're doing a lot on the other side to change the production.
Yeah.
We're trying to make the backlog lower, not longer.
It's like building factories and building more.
we don't want a long backlog. That's annoying. It'd be like go to a restaurant and you order a burger and you have to wait 3 hours. I'm like, that's annoying.
Yeah.
You want to get your burger right away. Same with the car.
Exactly.
So we want the lead times to reduce.
Okay, thank you. No, I was just trying to follow up on the fact that you both said that maybe you were seeing demand be impacted a little bit, and that was the spirit of the question. Maybe I can
say we don't have because we see daily orders from around the world for our cars. It's actually it is like a mood barometer of people's confidence in the economy. But one can't read too much into it, because things can vary a great deal from one day to the next. Consumer sentiment is all over the map. So it's manic. I was manic depressive, frankly. But we have so much excess demand that it's really just not an issue for us. It might be an issue for some other companies, but it is not an issue for us.
Okay, thank you. Elon, I'm just wondering a question for you. Tesla's obviously changed dramatically in the last 3 years from, near life or death to a company with, consistent cash flow and industry-leading margins. I'm wondering if you can comment on your personal role in the company and whether you see that changing in terms of your role, your commitment, and time spent at the company over the next 3 or 4 years. I think you said a few calls ago you wouldn't be on calls and unless there's something unusual, and you've been on every call since then. I'm wondering how
There's
you
been a lot of unusual things. Let's face it.
So I'm just wondering about
basically, if there's only good news, I won't be on the call. but if we have like a tough situation like COVID shutdowns in China, then I think I'll be on the call. If relatively speaking, there's bad news, and if all we have is good news, then I won't be on the call.
That's what I said.
But I'm committed to the long term. I mean, I'll work at Tesla as long as I can usefully advance the cause of sustainability and autonomy.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. The next question comes from William Stein. Please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Great. Thank you very much for taking my question. Elon, in the past, you've given some assessment as to the likelihood that you can achieve success in some of the more interesting AI-oriented efforts, not only FSD, but also Dojo and Optimus. Perhaps you can give an updated view on those.
Well, I don't want to steal thunder from AI Day. So I think we'll have some exciting news on AI Day that I think will be further ahead than probably most people think.
Okay.
But I don't want to. I'd love to answer you, but I think we'll leave that excitement for AI Day.
Okay, and perhaps a follow-up if I can. We've heard a lot from others, and certainly to some degree from you all, about the shortages in semiconductors in particular. We have seen some, big important customers of that type of product decide to sort of, leverage the ecosystems that exist to make some of their own in those categories. I'm wondering to what degree you're doing that. It's outside of Dojo in terms of the, I guess on the inference side, you're certainly doing that in the car. But what about sort of the more mundane areas like microcontrollers and the like? Is there any internal effort to improve supply chain and maybe improve other performance aspects?
Well, there's a lot we've done. We've been working with our suppliers a lot. We don't currently intend to make chips ourselves. We don't think there will be a need to make chips, but we have been working closely with a number of suppliers. Actually just met with one of our key supplier CEOs right before this call. We had a great meeting. They're going to make major investments in some of the critical chips and components that we need in the car. And I've actually like take a moment to thank our key suppliers once again for supporting us through difficult times, and they really went above and beyond to support us. So to all our suppliers out there, thanks very much.
Yeah, and I guess just maybe we don't talk about it very often, but we do have a lot of custom silicon in the vehicle already. Microcontrollers, yes, some. Battery management, yes, some. Power electronics, yes, some. So we try to go after where there's actually a technical advantage. And in the future, I think we're going to look at where there's a supplier advantage as well. Supply chain advantage.
Even now, where there's supply chain issues with our tier 1s and tier 2s, Karn and Roshan get into it with us on the engineering side, and we find solutions, whether it's alternative chips or, changing the entire structure of the stack to make it work. And I think that's an advantage we have that many other OEs just simply cannot.
Yeah, I think Tesla is as much a software company as it is a hardware company, and so one of the ways that we've been able to address supply chain issues on the chip front is by rewriting our software to be able to use different chips, or in some cases achieve dual use of a single chip, which is even better. And actually, quite frankly, the chip shortage served as a forcing function for us to reduce the number of chips in the car.
Simplify.
Yeah, it turns out we had more chips than we needed. So, but it's a testament to our software team that we're able to roll a new chip into the car and write a whole new batch of software for that chip, and without interrupting production.
Yeah, and our goal is, as we mature and scale the platforms, to integrate more functionality into fewer chips. Like, that is the way that it's gone with laptops and phones. It's going that way in cars, and we're trying to do that wherever it makes sense to do it.
Yeah,
as quickly as we can.
I mean, from a supply chain standpoint, what do you think about chips and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, from a high level, instead of designing and building our own microcontrollers, we're partnering with key partners that understand the architectural requirements, and they'll take the specs and design something for us. We've done that, to your point, Drew, in the battery sensing space. We've got some application-specific ICs. But yeah, integrating, reducing the number of components, it makes the supply chain easier, but it also makes the reliability of the end product better, because there's less failure points. So that's always been the mantra.
And at times we also go at the wafer level and try to consume less to achieve the same functionality. So that's something also that we've been looking at in some of the constrained modules that we've faced in the last 6 months.
That's good.
Is that a show?
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all of your questions. Unfortunately, this is all the time we have this quarter, and we will speak to you again in 3 months' time.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.
There it is. Tesla earnings call. Finished, all wrapped up. Oh, God. They got to throw in the copyright music right at the end there. Okay, so let's go through a debrief of the earnings call. What I'm going to do, by the way, first of all, I have to give thanks to a couple of super chatters. Brad, I appreciate you super chatting. $50, 50 bones from Brad. Appreciate that. To the moon. And Judy as well. Thanks for the live stream. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you. So what's interesting is I made some notes here as I was listening. It seems like kind of I don't want to say a nothing burger call, but we got a couple of key points here. So Cybertruck, middle of the year, next year is kind of what they're aiming for. FSD beta still end of the year is the goal for FSD beta wide release. I saw some questions coming in about what is FSD beta, wide release versus like full release. I think what FSD beta wide release is, if you buy FSD, you subscribe to beta, you're in the safety score, you get it automatically. Or maybe it's even the getting rid of the safety score. I don't know. Giga Texas 4680s. The goal is to get to 1,000 cars worth of 4680s per week. Elon says within a few months. I'm pretty sure I heard Drew Baglino say by the end of the year is the internal goal. So take that with a grain of salt if you want. Margin, it was lower because of China restarts. I think that was pretty self-evident. $106 million worth of a cost. So if you're talking about Bitcoin, it cost Tesla so far about $106 million for the Bitcoin sale. And that was packaged into the restructuring cost that was put into GAAP earnings this quarter. Still aiming for 50% year-over-year growth. Yeah, what it is. 4680s. Oh, again, this is kind of a repeat. This point was interesting. Towards the end of the call, we got Elon's thoughts about run rate. And he thinks by the end of the year, 40K per week is achievable. 40K a week, that's about 2.1 rounding up, let's say 2.1 million car run rate by the end of the year per week. So again, when you're extrapolating out per week, it's a little bit hit or miss because a couple of thousand per week can make a big difference. But let's say 2 million run rate end of the year, and that's the goal for Tesla. Again, Elon said, and he repeated multiple times, force majeure, who knows what can happen. There's been a lot of force majeure, so take that with a grain of salt. But 2 million car run rate by the end of the year, that would be massive. So this quarter, I'd call it a win. It's not a slam dunk. It's no Q4 last year, but it is a win. It is a win in the respect that, hey, I mean, what can you really ask during these force majeure times? So in that respect, I definitely consider it a win. Brad coming in hot with another $50 super chat.
The only one allowed to ask questions on these calls.
Hey, I was actually going to say that. I was going to say, I wonder one day if Tesla or other companies will open it up so retail investors can get on Zoom and ask calls during the. I know we say technologies. That's the whole point, is you can kind of automate that. But I appreciate the support, Brad. Much love, my friend. So that's kind of the recap for this earnings call. 3.5, how many hours? 3.5 hours into the stream. We are still got 1,000 people watching us, 663 likes. Hit like on your way out, hit subscribe on your way out. You guys are awesome. Thanks for spreading some good juju with me. You guys are a good time as always. Thanks so much for tuning in, whether you did for a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Tomorrow morning, I'm going live with James Stevenson. So hit subscribe, hit the bell for that. I'll be going live at 9 a.m. tomorrow Pacific time to go live with James Stevenson to kind of debrief the earnings report that was. Any questions, feel free to toss them to me on Discord if you're a Patreon member or a channel member. Remember, you get Discord access, $5 a month or more. Tweet at me if you want, or DM me, whatever you need to, for any questions you may have for James. No promises. I'll try to get in as much as I can in terms of questions there. But yeah, I mean, overall, average beat quarter, I guess, technically speaking. Not a huge slam dunk, but it's hard to ask for a slam dunk in a quarter too. So that's good enough for me. All right, guys, much love. My voice is dying. It's been 3.5 hours. Much love to everyone. Take care. Signing off. Tomorrow morning, I'll catch you live, hot and heavy on this channel. Hit subscribe on your way out. Take care, everyone. And thanks to all the mods as well for modding for the last 3.5 hours. Appreciate you guys. Take care. Yasha signing off. Catch you later. Peace.